So, how about those embryos?
What are you talking about now, man?
Alabama.
The embryos in Alabama.
Alabama embryos.
Wow.
They're humans now.
According to Alabama.
According to the Alabama Supreme Court.
Yeah.
They're humans. They weren't before that.
Right. Yeah.
But now they are.
And only in Alabama.
Only in Alabama.
Yep.
The rest of the 49, well, you know, flip a coin, I suppose.
Which is great for... It's great for, like, anti-abortion. But the real pickle, actually, is the in vitro stuff right now.
Yep. It's just very, very confusing, I guess, for them. But yeah, there's a lot in there, I suppose. The average individual could unpack.
Right.
But yeah, it's great for the pro-life movement.
Yeah, for the most part, absolutely.
Yep. Not sure what they're going to do with all those embryos. Just can't freeze children.
You can't freeze children.
Can't freeze children.
That's right.
Or dispose of them.
Right. Yeah.
It's not funny. Don't laugh at that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Modern society has ethical dualities to it. You know, moral dualities. What are they? Well, yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
It would never have. Well, in a more primitive society, not that I'm arguing for that, but these just questions would never be asked or
right.
be necessary.
You really don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, you just don't have to worry about it so much. You have to worry about other things.
Right.
But, yep. More power comes more responsibility, I suppose, right?
Right. Yeah.
Just
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. That's what Uncle Ben taught us.
Yeah.
But just because you can do something doesn't mean you should, I suppose.
Right. Yeah.
But I suppose the postmodern humanist doesn't agree with that. They would say you should. If you can,
then you should.
Then you can.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That reminds me. The other day, I was thinking about knowledge.
Yeah.
Right. Or it's not so much knowledge as it is like experience, I suppose.
Right.
But I guess I've gone through times in my life where I thought, well, you know, I go through this situation or this scenario, and then I come out of it with a better understanding.
Right.
You know, and it's actually better to not go through some of the scenarios. You know.
Right. You mean like certain experiences?
Yeah, certain experiences.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that we justify having terrible experiences because, like, well, I learned so much through it, and without it, who would I be? And I understand that it all kind of works together. But at the heart of it, maybe it's just better to never to have had that experience.
To avoid it if you can.
Yeah.
Or
you know.
for other people to avoid it.
You think about, like, Adam and Eve.
Right.
You know, like having the tree is the knowledge of good and evil.
Yeah.
And what the story of Adam and Eve is saying is that knowledge would have been better to not have.
Yeah.
And to trust the Lord in all these things.
Right.
And we constantly, as a human race, are making the opposite claim, that the knowledge is always better to have.
Right.
And it's like, well, that's not really true.
Yeah, it's definitely, not always, well, it wasn't the case then. You know, but it seems like a compounding problem because once you have the knowledge of good and evil,
right,
it's you can't unlearn it, and so it's like you have to learn more to combat it almost, but then there's always more. There's always
Right.
more questions, more whatever. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, it would have been, of course, better if we didn't know evil, because then we can't do evil. But
Right.
now, obviously, and then there's, of course, to the postmodern humanist, more knowledge equals more
Exactly.
closer to godhood.
Mm-hmm. That's
But,
not always the case, but it's not that knowledge is never good.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's not the claim that I'm making. But there are
Yeah.
some things that I'm like, well, I mean, we could pick them apart on whatever they are.
Oh,
But there
sure.
is some knowledge
Specifics.
that's like, oh, it's better off to not know that.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Yeah.
I think that knowledge definitely, it's got to exist. Knowledge is like, maybe we shouldn't know that.
Right.
But not so much we can do in this world. But knowledge is just not God.
Yeah.
It's like you can't want to hold on to your knowledge over
God.
Yeah.
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 Because knowledge in itself is not God.
Right.
And it doesn't make you more like God.
No. It turns out.
Right. Yep. Yeah.
But the postmodernist.
It's so interesting because this is what's interesting is that from my own observations, it's like the more humanistic the person is,
Mm-hmm.
the more ignorant they are.
Right.
Like they're the ones that are arguing for science and knowledge, but they're arguing it for other people to figure out, not themselves.
Okay.
And then you have the person of faith, or the wise person who follows the Bible or knows the Bible well or whatever. They actually have more knowledge.
Oh, right. Yeah.
About life.
Absolutely.
More relevant things, more grounded, as we like to say.
Mm-hmm.
And today, it's like much more grounded, based.
Right.
Than it's like everything. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like the people that argue for science are the ones that intentionally bury their head in the sand when it comes to facts that don't agree with them.
Right. Yeah.
And they would call us ignorant, but it's ironic because I'm like, well, I don't need a peer-reviewed paper to believe something. Like,
yeah.
And because you do, you're always 10, 15 years behind, and you're subject to someone else's intellect.
Right.
It's just not.
Yeah.
It's just not God. So it's acceptable to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I'm like,
right.
But like I deal a lot with people who like they just don't believe anything unless it's in a study, and I'm like, well, you're relying on converged interests to fund the study and to execute the study in a trustworthy manner.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, when people fund studies, I'm not saying that all data is wrong, but when people fund studies, they do it with an objective.
Right.
The people that are doing the studies might have ulterior motives. They might have biases. I expect that. But the people doing the funding want certain outcomes.
Yep.
And they're not going to just fund anybody doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not the types of people to waste money.
Right.
And so it's like, why would I, if I were a business mogul, big pharma, whatever the case may be,
mm-hmm.
and I'm trying to test a drug, or I'm trying to test this or that disease or study that, if I'm going to fund the study, I want to fund institutions that align with my values, my outcomes,
mm-hmm.
and I want them to pick teams that will align with those outcomes, because I don't want my money going to something that's going to work against me.
Right.
My business objectives, my corporate objectives. You know what I mean? It's like,
absolutely.
So our institution's inherently flawed or corrupt, and you can't trust. Not that you can't trust anything,
mm-hmm.
but nobody's doing organic, trustworthy research. Very, very few people.
Right. Yeah.
More international research, I would say, is trustworthy than domestic, funded by big companies.
Right.
And I don't know that for sure. It's just, but that's in my observation. I typically will, international studies are more believable, just because there seems to be a lack of that corporate interest.
Gotcha.
Or maybe it's government. I don't know, but big government agencies have as much power as, well, a dictator in their field, you know. So
yeah,
if they want something to be true, they will make it. They'll study it true. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's amazing how much power just a few people have when you start peeling back the layers of these institutions. It really hinges upon a few positions that say yay or nay, and that's a lot of power. You know, they have quite a bit. So anyway, it's like the people, they won't believe anything unless it's studied, but you're going to be waiting for corporate interests to converge on your subject matter and make everyone under you wait because you can't believe something that you can study yourself. You know, you can't trust your own conclusions because you're not.
Yeah.
It's like anyone can read books. You know, before universities, we had self-studied people.
Right.
Or even after universities, you know, because universities are religious institutions almost entirely.
Right.
They're not they did not start atheists. They started religious. Reading and writing was primarily monks.
Right. Yeah.
And then the clergy would teach people to read and write. They had universities to teach people how to read and write and study and do art and all that stuff, you know. But these weren't atheistic constructs.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think I find it intellectually embarrassing when people won't believe it unless it's on paper.
Oh, yeah.
I find it's embarrassing. I'm like, why would you? The fact you're proving to me that you're not a critical thinker and you can't come to your own conclusions, and that the more you learn is actually a detriment to your thinking capabilities.
Right.
Because you can't possibly memorize. You can't possibly memorize medical school, but you have to understand the subject matter. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like it's about understanding the human body, not memorizing it. And I don't know why. I mean, it's not inconceivable, but I guess for some it is. I don't know.
Well, I think like there's a big. It's whenever I think about scientists, okay,
right,
especially back in the day, I think of they're almost like these magical characters.
Yeah. That's like mythology.
It really is. Like there's like the wizards, you know, and they have all this like secret knowledge.
Yeah.
And then you go and you meet people who are scientists.
Yeah.
And you kind of, or really you don't have to meet the scientists.
Yeah.
You have to look at how they're coming to their data and how they're creating data points.
Right,
and you realize really anyone can do that. There's like very few things that need to be replicated in a lab, especially for just our everyday knowledges, you know, our everyday knowledge. We don't need to create a clean lab environment in order to figure this out or figure that out. But what even is a clean lab environment? See, that's another one of those like mysterious places, you know. And I think whenever you start breaking that stuff apart and you realize how simple it is, they're data points, and you go, oh, I can create data points. I could consider, you know, what happens when we try this, what happens when this happens, what happens when you add this. Yeah, you start to actually experiment, and then you go, well, maybe these guys aren't so magical as I once thought. They are very well funded. Yeah. And so they're going to be...
And well educated, I guess, you know.
Yeah, I would say that they're not educated at all. I would hope not.
Right.
Maybe one day I'll make that claim.
Yeah.
I just don't know anything.
Right.
But I think there's a mystery behind scientists. So whenever we see that, like, oh, you know, science is pushing us in this direction, it's like, well, maybe we should analyze what it is that they're actually saying.
Right.
And maybe consider what it is. It's kind of like the, what was like that article I showed you the other day, where it was like there's oil. There's oil on Titan.
Oh, right.
And somebody was like, listen, there can't be oil on Titan.
No.
Because oil is fossil.
Oil is bio, whatever it's called. Yeah, biomaterial.
Yeah. And so it's like,
biological material.
It's like, well, okay, well, it can't be oil. So then we read the article, and it's saying it's fuel.
Fuel.
The article is saying oil in the headline.
It said oil, but it means fuel, which is intellectually dishonest.
Yeah. So it was like, it was like gases that we could
Yes.
burn. I forget what the gases were.
Methane.
Yeah, that's what it was.
So it's an element,
Yeah.
which is not an oil, which is a composition of degraded biological life.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that. It's methane. So it's an element.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I believe elements are present on other planets, but when you're
Yeah.
saying oil, you're saying that a catastrophic extinction event happened on Titan and that life, plant or animal life, was buried.
Right. Which we wouldn't even be able to.
You wouldn't be able
test.
to, well, you wouldn't be able to see it.
You wouldn't know.
Yeah.
There's
But
no
it's
way.
methane. It's like, well,
It's
yeah,
methane.
you can
Yeah.
use natural gas and methane as a fuel. It's not oil.
No. That was just wild.
But that's just how they just, I don't know, it's just a propaganda campaign, really.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely.
But, yeah, an element is not the same as crude oil.
No. Oh my gosh. That's what the article said. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
It was like oil on Titan. Like, no. It can't be right.
Yeah, it's so important to, well, read it, but if they're dishonest in the headline, who's to say they're going to be honest with the rest of it?
Right, exactly.
Like, typically, when someone violates your trust, they have an agenda, and they're not going, you know, you're lucky if they admit, you know what I mean?
Right,
Any admission is you're lucky for it, you know? And I'm like, I just don't like giving people that much power to deceive me, you know?
That's funny.
Like, it's up to you to admit that you're lying, but you're not, but not openly, but like subtly. It's like, I think that's me giving you too much power, right?
Right. Yeah. Holy cow, dude.
But yeah, every critical thinker's dream. I believe you until you incriminate yourself. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Great. You love it. I'm a real libertarian.
Oh my god. I'm a real libertarian. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Science.
Science.
Bring me scientists and I'll believe them, I guess.
Bring me scientists and I'll believe
I just
them.
don't know if anyone's really doing science today. I think they're doing
Yeah.
ideology. I think they're doing agenda.
Right.
I don't think they're doing science.
Right, yeah.
But, yeah, I'm just not sure about it. But hey, movies, right?
Movies. Yeah.
Movies.
The other thing hijacked by ideologies.
Yeah.
That's a great segue.
Speaking of it.
Yeah,
you know,
great segue.
Why do you think people can't make movies anymore?
I don't know, because they're all gay. They're all gay.
Too much gay.
There's too much gay.
Too much.
All over the writing crew.
Not enough straight.
Yeah.
Too much gay.
Too much gay.
Well, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Woke Hollywood making our movies for us.
Dude.
It's all unwatchable.
Can't believe it.
Completely unwatchable. You know, me and my wife were watching old cartoons with the kids, and like all the messaging is there, all the same messaging is there.
Really?
It's just, for some reason, our parents didn't care about it. It was like acceptable.
Right.
But I'm like watching it with my kids. I can't even think of a few examples because it's just, I'm blanking out right now. But there was some old 90s, early 2000s movies we were watching.
Gotcha.
And I'm like, all this feminist, progressive messaging is there.
Right.
It's okay for girls to be rude, disrespectful, and mean. Boys are wrong. Always. Even if they're nice, they're wrong.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't want my son watching this. I don't want my daughter watching this. All the messaging is there.
Right.
It's much more, well, it's much more subtle than today because they're not saying the loud part, you know, they're not saying it out loud.
Right. Yeah.
But it's in the conduct, it's in the writing, it's in the interpretation, you know, it's all there. It's just not spoken, you know. But now they're, you know, straight up just saying it on TV.
It's crazy.
And I'm like, this is awful. Why did we get here? Well, this is how we got here. But like some of these shows people really like, so you know, I'm not I'm not coming against them completely. It's just that,
Right.
but all that progressive, woke Hollywood messaging is there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is kind of a hot take, but Jurassic Park.
Yes.
Watched the first Jurassic Park.
Yep.
Really all of them.
Yes.
Okay.
All of them.
And this is something I had noticed. Love Jurassic Park. I think everyone who likes
everyone
movies
loves Jurassic Park.
likes Jurassic Park. Absolutely feminist. It's absolutely
it's
feminist.
Overtly feminist.
It's crazy. And like I understand, they get away with it because there is an actual story.
There is a story.
Okay.
Yes.
But like I forget her name. Is it Ellie? Is that her name?
No idea.
I don't know. That dinosaur girl.
The
blonde girl.
The blonde woman.
Yeah, she is.
I call her Emmeline Haldo.
Dude,
Just call her Haldo because that's her entire personality, is that purple-haired character.
Yeah, basically. I mean, it's insane.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's all throughout. Like she tells she calls Hammond like a misogynist in it.
Right.
It's crazy. And I'm like, I love the movie, especially the special effects.
Yeah.
And now I'm watching it, I'm like, wow, it's all feminist.
Yes.
This is all. Well, it's not all feminist, but
in there. It's not all.
And when it's in there, it's like 100%. It's cranked up.
Yeah, it's cranked up.
I'm like, that's crazy.
But there's a scientific fallacy in that, but it's in the atheistic community as well, which says that all fertilized eggs are female.
Okay.
And a mutation makes them male. And I'm like, no, that's scientifically false. The gender is decided at the moment of conception based on the type of sperm that fertilizes the egg, whether it's an X or a Y chromosome.
Okay, yeah.
Whether it has an X or whether it has an X chromosome or not. Right?
Yeah.
But they're saying that all the dinosaurs they're cloning are female. We have to make them male. And I've seen posts like this on Twitter where like men are just freaks of nature, and I'm like, okay, so in secular society, men are a mistake, and this is reflected in our society. You know, this is what our society typically believes, right?
Right. Yeah.
Men are the mistake, and women are the solution. And they're like, well, that's how we grew up.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, but in the Bible, God made Adam first.
Right. Yep.
So how it's completely it's anti-science, but it's anti-Bible, anti-creation story.
Right.
Because God made Adam first, and He made Eve from Adam.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, well, but secular humanists believe that male is a mutation. And you actually believe that? Like, intellectually you believe that? That's crazy. And they say it in Jurassic Park, in the first Jurassic Park, they talk like that, and I'm like, that should have made our parents and grandparents like raise an eyebrow.
Yep.
Like, oh, this is atheism being taught to our kids. Why would we enjoy this?
Right.
But everybody enjoyed it, and I'm like, if that came out today, it'd be woke, and I wouldn't watch it.
Oh yeah, I was thinking that exact same thing.
If it came out today, I'd roll my eyes. I'd be like, ugh.
Yeah, I don't.
Again.
If it comes out today, I don't like it.
Yeah.
I won't watch it. I'll be bothered.
Yeah, I would just be bothered.
Absolutely.
By it because I'm like, this is absolutely wrong. It's a desperate attempt to unexplain the Bible, and everybody just the religious community just loved it, and I'm like, well, it's a good movie, but like that's not good enough for me anymore.
Right.
Because the messaging of the movie matters more or as much as the quality. Just because something's a good music, good story, good cameras, blah, 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 I don't really care.
No.
I mean, I do care about quality, but I care about the quality of the message of the film.
Right.
Is it a positive message? Is it a negative message? But it's programming. They're programming people to think like this, to use these talking points.
Absolutely.
And they teach it in universities and stuff. You know, I'm like, you're just programming people is all you're doing. And,
so true.
And I think it's embarrassing. Again, it's embarrassing. But it's like, you just believe it because you saw it on TV.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm like, it's stupid.
Mm-hmm.
That's so dumb. Like all embryos are not naturally female.
No, I do remember being told that. Or no, I mean, I wasn't told it, but I remember hearing that.
Yeah.
It was like all children start out female.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you? That can't be true.
Well, it's just to degrade men.
Yeah.
But that's not true.
No.
It's decidedly male or female from conception.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know, and
it's got to be.
That's the way
that's how it works.
Is. Yeah. It's like
they're acting like it'll change like it decides it's male like halfway through.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, it doesn't.
No.
That's not how it works. It was always going to be male from the very beginning.
Yes. Yeah.
Because of the chromosomes.
Because of the chromosomes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
X and Y, right?
It's from the very beginning.
It's really simple.
And it's like, are there exceptions to that? Are there, flaws? Well, of course.
Well, yeah, there are actual mutations.
But, yeah, there are.
Your gender isn't a mutation, though.
No.
your sex is not a mutation.
No.
That's weird. Like male and female, these aren't mutations. These are natural. These are right.
It's always been that way.
From there can be mutations.
Yeah.
But male or female, that's it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, it's not that there aren't things that happen that get distorted, but it's like that's not the norm. That's the exception.
Yes.
But anyway, yeah, Jurassic Park is woke.
Yeah, Jurassic Park is woke. It's always been woke.
It's always
Actually,
been woke.
if you guys didn't know, it was produced by Kathleen Kennedy. The very first Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
It was Steven Spielberg, Kathleen Kennedy. And then Jurassic Park 2, also Kathleen Kennedy.
Wow.
Jurassic Park 3, also Kathleen Kennedy.
Wow.
Okay? And I didn't mean to burst any bubbles. Okay? You know, there's still reasons to like Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
But holy cow, it really always has been feminist and woke.
Yeah.
Even before the Jurassic Worlds and whatever else.
Right.
Was that last Jurassic World?
I never saw it.
Oh my gosh, dude!
Never saw it.
It's so bad, dude. It's so bad. It's
not
so
even
bad.
Chris Pratt could save it.
Dude, not even Chris Pratt could save it. It's making me fidgety, dude. I'm getting fidgety thinking about it. I'm sweating, dude.
Get him a Xanax.
Oh my gosh. It's so frustrating. It was the dumbest thing I've ever seen. The dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Wow.
With writing and everything. And then, like, they try to get the girl comes back from the first Jurassic Park. And and the guy, is it Grant and Ellie? That's what their names are for right now.
Right.
It's Grant and Ellie.
Yeah, for sure.
And Ellie.
Copy that.
Ellie, Ellie's married, in the third one.
Okay.
But guess what?
Oh, not anymore.
She's not married anymore. She got a divorce.
Because all powerful women get divorced.
And he sucks, okay?
Right.
And all the kids are grown up. And so now she gets to be with Grant.
Oh, yeah.
Which was like the original, we're going to match these two people together.
Right.
Everyone was like, what do they call them? Ships? They were shipping them.
Shipping?
I'm hip. I said it.
Well, I don't know. Yeah. Is that what the kids are saying now?
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I think that's what the kids were saying back in my day.
Oh, okay. Copy that.
I think it's like the opposite of hip. It's like dead.
I don't know.
I don't know. Oh my gosh. Anyways, it was stupid. The whole movie was stupid, and the writing was terrible. Just them even trying to put Ellie and Grant together makes no sense. You just keep them apart because that's how it was. That's how it was.
That's how it ended.
It's all fan service at that point. So there's no point to point to change it for any reason. And then also the whole story was convoluted. It was like they knew that this place was creating locusts that only prehistoric locusts.
Which is no spoilers, right? For the viewers.
No, it tells them this.
Oh, okay.
It tells them this like within like the first 5 minutes of the movie. That's why it doesn't make any sense. The movie itself doesn't add up.
I got
It's like they know that the bad dinosaur place is creating locusts that eat corn or crops that
Oh.
are not genetically modified in the way that the big dinosaur company is modifying their corn.
Oh.
Or whatever. And they say it within the first 5 minutes, and then they are like, yeah, we know all this is happening, but we have to break in. We have to break into the facility, and we have to get a locus so that we can take it to the judge, and then the judge will see that what we're saying is right.
Wow.
And it doesn't make any sense because these locusts are just flying around everywhere.
Wow.
And then,
It sounds like what's happening now. Sounds like what we're living through.
yeah, it's
Sort
pretty
of.
close. It's pretty close.
Agencies engineering bugs
Yeah.
that eat specific types of crops that you have to buy a specific type of pesticide that's just rebranded, repackaged for that bug.
Oh, you're so right.
How crazy is it? Is a hot take. I hope the FBI doesn't take me out. Sometimes I know too much.
Right. Yeah.
I feel out. Not that I'm declaring it. I don't know anything. But like cabbage beetles,
Cabbage beetles.
alfalfa weevils. It's like, oh no, that just happens. Like, yeah. So you just grow a crop and there's a specific type of bug that's named after the crop that eats only that crop. I believe that. That's biology here. Because that's what the Native Americans did, right? You know what I mean?
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
They don't. We have cabbage beetles, right? You grow cabbage and you get cabbage beetles.
Okay.
That's what they're called.
Yeah.
What else do they eat? How many people grow?
They just eat cabbages?
They just eat cabbage, I guess.
That's it?
I don't know much about it.
Just a rumor.
Rumor?
Yeah.
And you have to buy specific types of pesticides. Well, I'm talking for like big crops, not like gardens.
Okay.
Although our cabbages got absolutely destroyed. But like, what the heck? So the government, the government.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say the government.
Right.
But you know, there's agencies connected to every single industry, right?
Right.
That have unlimited power in that industry.
Mm-hmm.
So there's bugs that eat certain types of crops that are named after that crop, and I'm supposed to believe that's natural. Like they expect me to believe that's normal.
Yeah, it's normal.
So there's just bugs that eat alfalfa, and that's what they're called, alfalfa weevils. What the heck? What else do they eat? Where do they live? They live everywhere. They only wake up when there's alfalfa in the air? What?
Wait, what?
And if you don't spray with their pesticide,
mm-hmm.
only their pesticide will kill the alfalfa weevil, all your alfalfa dies.
Holy cow, dude.
It's crazy. I'm like, that's natural? Tell me that's natural. Tell me that's normal. Bugs are natural.
Yeah.
Bugs are natural. But like a bug that specifically eats one type of crop and only this poison will kill it? It's engineered.
That sounds...
You didn't hear that from me.
That sounds a little engineered.
That sounds engineered.
Sounds engineered.
So it's like maybe they just want to restrict the supply.
Ooh.
But the same people are also monitoring the seeds. So they're deciding what seeds you can buy. Mm-hmm. You get taught all this in agricultural school. Where you buy seeds, how you treat plants, how you grow, best farming practices. Someone's controlling all of that.
Mm-hmm.
You control the knowledge. You control everybody. And I'm not downing people who are learning about agriculture, or downing on farmers. I'm not blaming them for any of this.
Right.
But the education system around it is favoring agencies, corporations, individuals, families, whatever the case may be,
mm-hmm.
and they design the products, but they design the problem.
Right.
And I'm supposed to believe that's normal for bugs to just eat one crop and live there dormant forever, and then they just wake up whenever the crop is there and they eat it all?
That's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
Don't grow alfalfa for 100 years and then plant alfalfa and you get alfalfa weevil? Come on, dude.
That's crazy.
I say 100 years. That's dramatic, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's like, I know, there's people who've never grown alfalfa before. Mm-hmm. Their neighbors never grown alfalfa. They grow it, and then all of it's eaten. I'm like, what? That's not natural.
That's weird.
Pesticide plants, or diseases. That some of that's natural. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying it's not.
Yeah.
But when you got a bug that doesn't have an identity outside of eating that plant, you have an engineered problem, and you only have one product that you buy from one company.
Yeah.
Or whatever, one source, I'll say, not one company, there's multiple companies.
Right.
But like one source that makes it, I'm like, come on, dude, you have an engineered problem and an engineered solution that costs you big bucks, or your crop doesn't make it.
Right.
Tell me that's not agency corruption. A little bit of a tangent, but like, it makes me angry.
Hard to say that it's not.
It makes me angry because I'm like, well, that's stupid.
Yeah. It's controlling.
It's so ignorant that I'm like, you expect me to believe that there is a bug that we have no other name for but cabbage beetle? It doesn't have an identity outside of eating cabbages? What happened when no one grew cabbages? Where'd it come from?
That's a good question. That's a great question, even.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What was it called in Europe? What was it called with the Native Americans? What is this beetle? We don't know anything about the beetle other than that it... You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it's engineered, and someone's got a patent on it. And I bet if you looked it up, you could probably find a patent.
Dude, that's hilarious.
It's like engineering bugs,
Probably, dude. And that's a scary thought.
That's super scary. And we know they do it. It's like, it's not a conspiracy. They do engineer bugs.
Yeah.
But you expect it to be for the good of humanity, not to its detriment or to fix an industry.
Well, you would think that, but not anymore.
The average person might, but not.
I think if you're a decent human being, you would think, if you can engineer bugs to be less invasive, less bothersome, then that's a great thing.
Yep.
But I think probably they'll do the opposite, make them more invasive,
because they're psychopaths,
more bothersome, and then, like what you were saying, they just die with this specific pesticide.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm like, I get it that you have imported bugs from other countries that don't have any natural predators. Mm-hmm. There are beetles like that, like the Japanese beetle. You got stuff like that.
Okay.
And I'm not saying all of that's unnatural. That's a normal phenomenon. But these aren't from a different place. They're from a lab. So, hot take.
Hot take.
But I don't know anything.
Well,
you didn't hear that from any. Wait, you heard it from a bag.
That's where you heard it from.
You heard it from the bag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So Hollywood sucks.
Yeah. Moral of the story: Hollywood sucks. They're not writing any good stories anymore. Madam Web.
Don't even know anything about it.
I've never seen it. I didn't even see a commercial for it, honestly.
I did see a commercial. I blocked it, but yeah.
You blocked it out.
I blocked it out.
Yeah.
It was.
I'm bringing it all back up.
Bunch of women spider heroes. So dumb.
Yeah.
So dumb. As if we want to see that. The only thing I can encourage Hollywood to do is keep making garbage.
Yes.
Just keep doing it.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to learn.
Mm-hmm.
They're incapable of learning.
Right.
They're capable of figuring this out.
Yep.
And I'm not happy to watch their shows, but I'm happy to see them fail.
Yeah, I'm basically done.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a lot of shows, new
They're
pieces
delusional.
of media that I watch.
No. Well, not really.
No, not so much.
I can't think of any off the top of my head.
There was 1917.
Ooh.
1917 was good.
So good. When was that made? 2017, 2018?
Yeah, maybe around there. We saw it in theaters.
We saw it in theaters.
And I don't remember.
Last movie I saw in theaters?
Yeah, it probably was then, like 2018.
So, 2019. I love 1917.
It was great. It's a great movie. I liked that Spider-Verse, the first one.
The first one was good.
I think I liked the first one. I think the second one might be unwatchable. I haven't even tried. So.
Oh, you haven't tried?
So
I watched
thinking
it.
It's unwatchable.
I watched it. I was very upset.
Okay.
It made me very upset.
Yeah.
The story had elements. There were good elements in the story.
Mm-hmm.
I got really angry, but I was watching it with my kiddos.
Right.
And that was the last movie I saw in theaters because I took the kids to see it, and I did not look up reviews first, but they loved it, so I let them enjoy it. But I was very upset at the movie because, well, it's not a spoiler, but they showed a pregnant woman fighting a villain.
Okay.
And that was the most irresponsible. I was livid. I was so angry.
Wow.
Because they're glorifying. First of all, they're just glorifying a woman. Period. They're putting her on this huge pedestal for no reason. She did nothing.
Wow.
And the husband, or I don't know, boyfriend, I don't know, calls her to fight. It's so unbelievable.
Calls her?
He calls her in the middle of a fight because he can't. Him and Spider-Man can't win. And so she comes and does absolutely nothing. She's 8 months pregnant.
Right. Yeah.
It's the most irresponsible piece of theater I've ever personally seen.
Oh my gosh, dude.
I was so angry. I was so angry because the fact that you're portraying a pregnant woman putting herself in danger is bad enough. Intentionally.
Yeah.
Totally unnecessarily.
Yeah.
There's 3 other spider people there. 3. And they cannot beat this B-rate villain. You know, Spider-Man works alone most of the time.
Right.
They can't beat this B-rate villain, so they need a 4th pregnant Spider-Woman, and they immediately put her on this idol. And I'm like, that's so it's intellectually insulting, but it's also morally insulting because I'm like, that's the most irresponsible thing I've ever seen. You can't. This is not good. There's nothing about a pregnant woman putting herself in danger totally unnecessarily.
Right.
That's morally ambiguous at best, but deranged at worst. And I was livid. But that's at the front of the movie, so it doesn't get any better.
Yeah, I think I just decided not to watch it.
Yeah.
I don't know why. They were just like, I hadn't heard anything good about it.
It could have been.
Like,
It could have been good. It could have been good, but
Wow.
stuff like that. It's not just that. It's stuff like that throughout the whole movie. There were decent plot points, but also it's just a very lazy plot. Very lazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very, very lazy. The plot doesn't move forward unless the characters go rogue, like rebel against the structure. That's the only reason the plot moves forward. The plot doesn't move forward on its own. It hinges on female minority characters every step of the way. So it's not Spider-Man's goodness or strength or character. It's the rogue actions of a few women that progress the plot line because they determine who gets stopped and who, it's very subtle.
That's really weird.
I think the average person
That's
probably
really
wouldn't even
weird.
agree with me, but I am right.
I got you.
Yeah, I just am. I am right because if certain people don't push the button doesn't get pushed. If certain people don't resist the man, then Spider-Man never goes anywhere.
That's really weird.
The whatever the main, it's like it's not a spoiler, but like the conflict is continued by these women, these female characters who have the power ultimately and let it progress. They let it go forward, and I'm like, that's stupid, and that's lazy story writing. That's ideological story writing.
Right. Yeah.
That's like me designing a story where only white men, if white men decide that
white bags.
Yeah, if white bags, paper bags. If
White
paper
bags.
bags determine that the story progresses, the story can progress.
Oh, I see. Okay.
If you get the white bag's approval, then if he nods in your direction, if he opens the door for you, your character, no matter who you are, your character's cause can progress then. But that would be That would be stupid. That would be a stupid
that's
story.
stupid. That's a dumb plot.
It's like you have a villain and you have a hero, but your story hinges on me.
Right.
And if I press the button or not, if I give you my approval or not.
That's weird.
And in the last moment, see, I've already sold out to the bad guy, but in the last moment,
You're gonna change.
I'm gonna change my mind, and
Right.
only for that moment, because after that I go right back.
Not me, dude.
It's lazy, it's
Yeah.
irresponsible, it's destructive, and I hate it.
I hate it.
And we haven't seen it since. The kids liked it, but it went right over the kids' heads.
Of course.
So
Right.
I let it happen. I took him to see it.
Right. Yeah.
It was my fault for not
You
looking up.
You can't trust them anymore. You can't trust the
whole
kids movies.
No.
You don't know what's gonna be in it.
Oh my gosh, no.
And that's stupid.
After that,
that's awful.
we don't watch kids shows anymore. Really,
Yeah.
I mean old kids shows,
Right.
trusted kids shows, but we don't. I mean,
Right.
but even in it's the progressive messaging is always there.
Right.
It's just now we know exactly what it leads to.
Mm-hmm.
But it's always been there. You know?
Right.
And the feminist stuff is just, it's absolute garbage.
They were right about the slippery slope. They were right.
They were right.
I'm just.
They said,
They
said first.
They said these things.
Yeah,
They
the
told
old
us.
people said it. And
It's
I
a
believed
slippery
them. To be fair, I did believe them.
I was on the fence.
Right.
Honestly.
Right.
I was like, maybe. You could be right. I don't know that.
Right.
I was wrong.
Yeah.
I was wrong because I was in the middle.
Right.
But that made me wrong. They were right. They were 100% right.
100%
It's
right.
a slippery slope.
Yep.
And we're going down it. And everyone's saying that it's an even more like we're already sliding.
Well, yeah.
You know, we're 100, 200, 3,000 miles per hour.
Yeah.
Okay, is what we are.
Ballpark.
Yeah, ballpark. And we're already sliding. And anyone who's saying that, oh, that slippery slope thing, no, there's no slippery slope. I'm like, we're in it.
No, you're lying.
We're in it, and we're going to go
gaslighting.
farther.
Yeah.
We're going to go farther.
Well, it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah.
If it gets better.
Yeah.
But if it gets better, it's a miracle from the Lord.
Oh, well, yeah, that's
Things like this
100%.
do not get better.
No.
When your society gets this bad, it has never historically. Well, I don't know of a single example historically without a cataclysmic reorganization.
Yeah.
Reorganization of your society, not just your nation, your society. I don't know of any that's the recovery. That's not the recovery process. That's the outcome.
Right.
That's the outcome of the derangement. You know, is destruction and then reorganization, and then the people who come through kind of learn something or do, right?
Right.
And then cycle continues, I guess. But like, if it gets better, I don't know, man. It's got to get worse.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't know about it's got to get worse. Now I'm not saying it has to. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that those are the only examples I know.
Right. Yeah.
You know, is the whole nation gonna repent? No, I don't think that. I think some of them might, but even I mean, I think even the ideologically correct people, I don't necessarily see repentance as a big thing.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
That's a good point.
It's like, well, even the people I agree with, I don't necessarily see them sorry for what they've done or what they've endorsed in the past. I see it sometimes.
Yeah.
But without that, even if a few do that, it's not going to be enough. You know?
Right.
I mean, it's got to be like majority. But I just don't see that happening.
No.
Not that we can't make a difference and can't salvage something. With the right leaders, we could definitely salvage it. I shouldn't be so pessimistic. But who's to say that our leaders are going to make it into their offices, you know?
Right.
Whether they win, if they win, how do we know they're going to make it there? You know?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Like,
okay.
We can be sure.
Yeah.
We can be sure of the votes, but like if they're not tallied, or if you get 4 o'clock in the morning shipments again, you know?
Right. Yeah.
How are we certain that's not going to happen? And how are we I mean, you can't even talk about doing anything about it.
No.
Except good people posing as poll workers and stopping it real time,
right.
stopping the theft real time.
Yes.
But you would need good people, decent people to pose as liberal poll workers.
Yeah.
And then and then just not cheat when they order you to cheat.
And that is a little gray. I understand. That's a little gray.
It's not super gray.
But here's the deal. They're doing it. They're doing it.
Well,
Liberals are pretending to be conservatives.
Yeah.
And they're infiltrating. And you probably know one. Okay? You probably know one. And they're just pretending so that they can get in and cause absolute mayhem. Yeah. We already talked about it, but New Hampshire.
Yep. Well, Nikki Haley,
that's all.
They're all voting for her.
That's all the left.
Yep.
They've already invaded. Okay. And that's that's just one of the overly confirmed ones. Right. Okay. And I mean that. It's like overly confirmed. There's other ones that have been confirmed, just like people don't want to say that it is confirmed.
Well, it seems like it fizzled out, or that didn't really go anywhere. But not that it's okay. It's still not okay.
Oh no, yeah. I mean,
but it didn't.
It didn't work.
It fizzled out.
Yeah, the Nikki Haley thing.
Yeah. Well,
I actually don't know what's going on with Nikki Haley. But
Democrats voting for her.
Yeah.
Didn't it?
It didn't work.
It's not really. Yeah, not really making it.
Yeah.
I figured it wouldn't
work
everywhere.
Yeah.
Because I just figured they weren't that.
I mean, Trump is
destroying it.
Yeah.
A lot of those Democrats are voting for him. You know, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wouldn't be.
But posing as a liberal.
Yeah.
To get in there and.
Just not cheating.
Yeah.
We're not advocating for people cheating. We're advocating for people not.
Cheating. Yeah. We're not. Yeah. Don't say you're a Democrat and then go in and vote in their primaries.
Yeah. No, we're not saying that.
No, don't do that. We are saying if you have to pretend to be
liberal
in order to observe what is happening behind some closed doors during a possible future election.
Yeah.
We're saying that might not be the worst thing.
That might not be the worst thing to happen. I can definitely think of I can think of worse.
Yeah, absolutely.
Being a liberal and cheating in an election.
You can stop it there. Being a liberal.
Being a liberal is worse than pretending to be a liberal. You know.
Dude, that's funny. But,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Vote for Gavin Newsom.
Gavin Newsom.
Governor of California.
I know what you're talking about now. That took me a minute. Oh my gosh. Holy cow. Yeah. Nonsense.
A vote for Gavin Newsom is a vote for sea turtles.
Oh, well.
We care about sea turtles, don't we?
Yeah, we care about the sea turtles so much that we got rid of plastic straws but kept plastic cups.
Yeah.
So, that was cool of us.
What really happened was the guy that made plastic straws voted for Trump and they got mad at him.
Is that
no.
I like this conspiracy though.
Yeah,
I'm starting it.
What do you call it when you make it up on the spot?
I don't know.
Cap? Is that what the kids are saying?
It's a cap.
It's cap.
What's it called?
Straight cap. Straight cap on God, on God.
Straight cap on God.
I love it. I love you kids.
Oh my gosh.
You're the best. We're kids. I'm a kid.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something like that.
Mm-hmm. You're Gen Z?
Yeah.
You're Gen Alpha. Are you Gen Alpha?
Zeta. Yeah.
I think you're Gen Alpha.
Yeah, I must be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Must be.
You look Gen Alpha.
2012. I was born in 2012.
Yeah. You must not have drinking any of the water.
Well, no, we're aging faster than you are.
Oh, yeah. Because you're not drinking the water.
Oh, I'm not drinking the water?
Yeah.
I am drinking the water.
No.
There's something
If you
in
drink
the
the
water.
water, it's
You
weird.
age faster, right? No?
You age slower.
You're aging slower.
Well,
They changed, well, if, yeah.
all the men, a lot of men today
Yeah.
look a lot younger.
Yeah.
Okay. And
I think it's because our mothers hoovered.
There
Our
could
mothers
be.
hoovered us.
Yeah, that could be it. But I also think people have talked about their stuff being in the water. There's stuff in the water.
Estrogen in the water?
Yeah, estrogen in the water.
Birth control.
And it
That's still
can
happening,
affect
right?
you. Yeah. It's an ongoing thing.
Right. But I don't think estrogen would keep you from aging. I think estrogen. Yeah, I see what you mean about the testosterone levels decreasing.
Right. Yeah.
And
it does affect the way that a guy will look.
Oh, well, young men will develop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Just a little bit slower, a little bit fairer skinned. That's what we're seeing. I mean, you've seen the videos of like high schoolers in the 90s and in the 80s.
Right.
And it's like, what is going on? And then you see high schoolers today that look like middle schoolers.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. There is something with that.
And
I think our generation was like super sheltered.
I guess somebody could convince me
that there's other variables.
There's other variables.
Right. I could probably do it.
Like
not that I want to.
Like even like nutritional stuff.
Right.
We have better whatever skincare routines.
Do you have a skincare routine?
No, I don't have a freaking skincare routine.
I think it's the absence of skincare routine. I think it's the fact that our generation didn't have skincare routines.
Maybe.
But you're putting all those chemicals on your face, in your hair.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like that'll actually age you faster.
Oh, interesting.
Definitely. But I don't know that that's the cause. That's one variable, I would say. But another one is the psychological level.
Right.
Psychology, psychological maturity, can change how you look.
Oh.
This is a working theory, but of mine. But in my observation, our generation was some of the most sheltered. Not like in a bad way, like I'm not putting anyone down. It's just we were very sheltered from the experience of life.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I'm sure people can relate, but like, we're 20-something. When we were 20-something years old, we didn't even really know how to. We didn't know what benefits at work. We didn't know how to get car insurance. We didn't know how to get a job. Like just walk in and get one. We weren't carrying ourselves. Well, we weren't. They didn't help us do that.
Right.
So we lived at home, and so there was a lot of sheltering, toxic sheltering. I would say it just wasn't right. It's not right to do to your kiddos. You want them to thrive in the world. You want them to know about the world. You want them to have bank accounts, have savings accounts, have retirement accounts, and not that they got to be fully funded. It's just that you need, we weren't taught any of that.
Yeah,
we weren't taught any of that. How to get a mortgage, get a bank account with a good bank that will lend you money to get a house we weren't taught any of that.
No.
And so it's like, well, in the absence of that, there is you're taking time to grow up, and so there's a kid like. Psychology, and I'm not saying it doesn't always translate to immaturity. Sometimes it wasn't available. We weren't allowed to grow up, is what I'm really trying to say.
Yeah.
And I
totally agree with that.
I think that when it comes to our younger siblings, Gen Z, which they're just young millennials, really.
Right.
But that's how I kind of think of them. They might, whatever. But it's like they went out and did all these kinds of things. They didn't have the rules we grew up in. They didn't have the sheltering. They had a better economy, a better job market, a better, housing market, so to speak. We had none. We had no job market. We had no houses, no.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like we grew up, we aged, we matured into a depressed system.
Right.
So we just stay at home. And I think that a lot of Gen Zers have been allowed to experience a lot of life. Not that they know more than us or more mature than us, not at all. I'm not even saying that.
No.
It's just that they were thrusted out without supervision. We had too much. We were helicopter parented.
Right.
They were not. So it's almost like at some point the parents were just like, we're tired now. Do whatever. I don't care. And that's overwhelming. We're not the only people to experience that. There's a lot of people, you know, they're like, oh yeah, well my younger siblings did whatever they want. We grew up strict.
Oh yeah, it's pretty
typical.
It's a pretty common story.
Yeah.
Like the two oldest siblings are like,
yeah,
mom and dad are so strict, and then the two younger siblings are like, they're my best friends.
Yeah, chaotic, do whatever they want. And they went out and experienced life, maybe not in a good way, maybe with a lack of support. I'm not saying that they had it better. Certainly, you know, I'm not saying that we had it better. I'm not even comparing hardship. Sometimes people get caught up in that, but it doesn't matter. I don't really care. But it's just like, but it's obviously psychologically different because they're aging, and we weren't. We aren't. You know what I mean? And so, we aren't doing it as fast.
Also, it's not good to, you know, the trauma thing. It's not good to lord like I have a deeper trauma than you.
No. Yeah.
Over anyone, especially if it's a sibling thing and it's like the older siblings versus the younger siblings.
No, yeah.
It's a really bad arrangement.
Super bad.
Yeah, don't.
Well, it's not profitable.
That. No, it doesn't help at all.
It's like, who cares? You know?
Yeah.
I can relate to people who weren't taught anything. I can relate to people, you know, thrust out, left on their own. You know, it's like we can't. You know, I don't know, but it's like we were just looking for guidance. People who cared about us to guide us.
Yeah.
And I think there's a huge deficit of that, no matter where you come from. Well, I know there's a huge deficit of that, but not everyone. But it's just, I don't know. It's just sad, but I definitely can feel bad for everybody. But families have been broken in this country for longer than us.
A long time.
A long time.
Absolutely.
It did not start with us. It's not going to end with us. Well, maybe, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Probably not. But if we get family back and just a correct view of gender roles,
yeah, that would help a lot.
It would help a lot. But people need to stop taking a dump on men. Young men. Young men pay the price. You know, it's like we gotta stop dumping on young dudes who are just like trying to make it.
Yeah.
Like
that's what a lot of them are just doing.
Yeah, they're just trying to live, trying to make it, and the left and the right. And this is where I kind of deviate with many, not all conservatives, but I just deviate in temperament to men. I don't believe manhood is earned. It can be lost, you know, like you can lose my respect as a man, but you have it by default. I think that's the only appropriate way. You know, people like hyper-conservative people are just like, oh, manhood is earned and women need to be protected. And I'm like, okay, well, when you say that, you put women on a pedestal and you put men in the dump, because you're teaching young men, boys, that they have to work really, really hard for value, whereas you're giving it by default to women. But neither one of those is true, and definitely not completely true.
Right.
So boys and men do not have to work to earn their value in society. They have it. They can work to lose it by their character. You can lose your value to society by being nasty, being evil, being mean, being destructive.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, but women can lose their value to society too by being mean and malicious and nasty and selfish. You know.
Right.
And it's like, well, I don't believe womanhood is earned. I don't believe manhood is earned. I believe that your value to society can be lost through conduct. And that's reasonable. That is the only intellectually reasonable position to take, because you can't say manhood has to be earned. That's degrading to boys.
Right.
And it's disgusting, really, to treat people like that. Like I don't believe they actually treat people like that. Like they don't, but they say it, and they're teaching it. But I don't actually think they believe that.
Right.
And that they're doing it. You're just saying it. You don't even know what it means.
It could be a motivation tactic.
Well, it could be, but it's a shame.
But it's a shame.
It's a shaming tactic to say, hey, act well, or we're gonna take care of you in a bad way, threatening young boys and men.
Right.
And I'm like, you can teach them without threatening. That's actually not what good teaching is. Good teaching is not threatening people into compliance, especially ones who've never done anything wrong. If you're talking to prisoners, if you're talking to like criminals, okay, and you're saying, hey, straighten up or we'll beat the crap out of you, it's like, I get it. Convicted criminals. I still, whatever. It's like, it's not always appropriate, but like, I get it. But you're talking to men, just men in the street, boys. Don't ever tell them that.
Right. Yeah.
If you have like toxic behavior, and you say, hey, straighten up, or I'll smack you over the head, I get it.
Right.
But if you're just talking to people, don't ever teach that. That's so dumb. Like, that's stupid.
Right.
I'm not going to teach my daughters that manhood has to be earned. That's destructive to them because they walk around mistrusting men because they don't understand who's earned it and who hasn't.
Golly.
And that makes them afraid of men, and that makes them hate men because hatred and fear are closely connected.
Right.
And so it's like, why would I teach that to my daughters? I should never teach that to my daughters. I can say, hey, there's conduct to be fitting a good man, and this is what that conduct looks like, and there's conduct to be fitting a bad man, right? But I'm like not going to say, oh, just neutral manhood has to be earned.
Oh, well, yeah.
And I'm not going to teach my son that. I'm going to say, hey, there are men, and there are bad men. Okay? Be a good man. There's a good man and there's bad men. Period. And it's like, it's not that hard. I mean, I just don't feel like it's rocket science. but it's like people believe this.
Well, I guess that's a good point because if I look back on my actual experience, which has these moments of oh, well, am I a man? When do I get to say I'm a man?
Yes.
When do I get to say that?
Yeah.
And well, it was only whenever I said, well, you can be a man because you're a man. Because you're born a man, you can be a man.
Right.
And I was like, oh, okay. And then from there was a lot of growth.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of growth before whenever I'm questioning, am I even a man? How does manhood work?
Yeah.
What should I be pursuing here? But only once I gave myself that position of like, okay, you're a man by default, you're done. Okay. Now go figure out what you're going to do with all that. But you're a man by default. And that actually is my experience. Yeah. So I guess what you're saying, I mean, it's got to be true. And trying to teach people that, like, they have to earn that type of manhood through any sort of way.
Any sort of way. But mostly what happens is you're a man because you take care of a woman.
Oh.
But that puts the woman on a pedestal again as an idol. As an idol. And these are mostly conservatives.
Yeah.
You are not a man because you take care of a woman. You can be a man before that.
Right.
That does not make you a man. Okay. That does not. In fact, your wife can be really mad at you, and you can still be a man. You can still be a good man because she might be wrong.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So when you teach people, manhood has to be earned, womanhood has to be protected. What you were saying is that if your wife isn't happy, you're not a man. And men internalize that because they are taught that. Sometimes it is stated, like openly stated. And it is not true. It is destructive. It is not psychology. It's not real. It's stupid. And it's destructive to boys, and it's destructive to women. It is equally destructive to women.
In the family.
In the family
unit.
Yeah.
I mean, oof.
And
how it affects your kids, it's really bad.
Well, it affects them in the long run. It's very subtle.
It's not good.
And but it's very destructive. And people defend this behavior, and I'm like, this is nonsense. You can be a man. It's like I don't need to come up with definitions. You are a man. Okay, so you can be manly. You can be not identify as so manly. I don't know, but like, You know what I'm saying? But we need to teach character, not it's not about, taking care of a woman does not make you a man.
No.
Making your wife happy doesn't make you a man, because then your manhood is contingent upon her happiness. But again, you cannot put women on that big of a pedestal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's idolatry.
Right. Absolutely.
That's idolatry, and I don't get my value from my wife. I love my wife. My wife's great, but I don't get my value from her.
No.
I had to have value before, or else, internally, you have to find it somehow. It's just ridiculous. I hate that kind of destructive attitude toward young people, toward young boys. Because any male hating or any man correcting always falls disproportionately on boys.
Right. Yeah.
Always.
Mm-hmm.
Boys, I always got the worst of it. Any wrong that a man did automatically was taken out on me and boys around me. It wasn't just me.
Right.
But it's like we always get the threats. Oh, you guys better never do that or all. X, Y, Z. And I'm like, what a horrible way to talk to decent, well-meaning boys.
Right.
Like, in the very next breath, they would say, oh, you're a good boy. But if you ever act like that. And I'm like, how dare you? Like, why don't you don't even know who you're talking to.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think like that. I don't talk like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to act like that. And yet you're threatening me because you feel unsafe. It's like, grow up.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Grow up. Don't trauma dump on me. I'm a kid. You're supposed to be the...
Oh, man.
I was a kid. They're supposed to be the protector. They're supposed to be teaching me.
Right.
And they're threatening me because they're unsafe, because they watch some man abuse a woman on TV. And I'm like, it's a show. It's a TV show that's programming you. It's programming them.
Yeah.
For them to believe, to attach their life experiences to it, incorporate it into their psyche, and then project it onto me.
Yep.
And I'm like, and their husbands, and their brothers, and their fathers, and all that stuff. And I'm like, wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be sheeple.
So.
People believe that stuff, and it makes I'm like, it's okay. Like, if you have shared experiences, if you went through that, I'm not belittling anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, the people who did that to me didn't ever go through that. Just because someone said something insensitive to you does not mean you get to freak out when you see a man and a woman fight on TV. You know what I mean? And the show just decides to paint the man as the wrong party.
Right,
I'm like, well, maybe he is, and maybe he was in your situation too, but that has nothing to do with me.
Right, yeah.
Nothing.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's like me snapping at my daughter every time a woman does something bad. Right. I'm like, that would be abusive.
Well, it starts going. Well, yeah, that would absolutely.
That'd be terrible. That would be abusive, right?
Yeah,
but that happened to me all the time.
Oh my god.
All the time.
Holy cow.
All the time.
That's a good point.
I didn't even like watching movies because I didn't know what was going to be in it, and I didn't want to be yelled at.
Oh my gosh.
With people, XYZ people.
That's
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I just don't want to be.
That's awesome.
Projected.
What you're talking about is an actual sexism.
Yes.
It's like that's what's happening.
Absolutely.
A developing sexism that's happening.
Yes.
Where it's like, oh, I saw this guy and he did that, and I'm getting reports that this gender is bad because of this reason, and therefore I'm not trusting any genders, any of those genders, any of those.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not doing it. It's like, well, that's sexism.
Yes.
When you're projecting what one person did, and you're going, oh, you have the same gender as them, so you're just like them.
Yes.
It's like, well,
yeah.
But that happens all the time to guys. All the time. All the time.
Yes.
All the time. And people do.
They say it. All men are the same.
They do. And
I think it's destructive. Why would you?
Sometimes it's moms, but sometimes it's dads.
Sometimes
dads are telling their little girls.
Dads are the worst perpetrators of feminism.
Yeah, teaching them to be sexist.
Yes. And afraid.
Yeah.
And violent sometimes. And disrespectful.
Disrespectful.
Yeah,
well, they sign off on their disrespect.
Yes. They endorse it.
Yeah, they
encourage it.
They're like, oh yeah, you should totally act like that to your,
brothers or male friends or whatever the case may be. Boys at school mostly.
It's not right.
Well, no, it's
right.
not right, and we're not
Far from
advocating.
right.
We're not advocating for the reverse of that either.
No.
We don't want that. We don't want boys bullying girls, but we don't want girls bullying boys, and it being endorsed by parents.
Yeah, that's.
I don't know any young men I don't know any men who encourage their boys to bully girls. I don't know any. It doesn't happen.
No.
But I know a lot of dudes who are like, yeah, just they do that. Encourage contention and competition with boys in every way, intellectually, psychologically, physically sometimes, altercations, interactions, competitions, whatever the case may be. And I'm like, that's destructive. You shouldn't do that.
Right.
You shouldn't do that.
It's nonsense.
It's complete nonsense, and it's very degrading for boys.
It really is worse than nonsense.
Yes, it's destructive.
Like what you were saying, it gets to the realm of abuse. It's abusive.
Yes.
At some point, and
yeah.
Can we call abuse from peer-to-peer bullying?
Yes.
Is that the proper term? Is that what that actually is? I use bullying as a joke, a lot, but like an actual bully, an actual bullying scenario.
Right.
It's like, well, that's peer-to-peer abuse. Really.
Well, it is.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of piecing that together. No,
in a workplace,
I always think of abuse as like
adults,
a higher person, hitting on like a lower rank. So it could be like an employer versus an employee, a parent versus a child,
right?
But then bullying is like almost always peer to peer in my head,
right? Kids, you mean, or
it's like or like I said, peer to peer. So it's like an employee to an employee. I wouldn't look at it and go, oh, that's abusive. I go, oh, well, that's bullying, and that's really bad bullying. That's like real bullying,
right?
Not the fake bullying.
Not the funny bullying.
Not the fake. The funny bullying.
There's like funny bullying, and this is like not funny bullying.
That's like just not funny, dude.
It's like abusive.
It's like abusive.
There's
bullying that's like it's not real. It's not real bullying.
Right.
And it's like, listen, that guy's being a little bit harsh on you, but like
Shane Gillis.
You got to get over it. Like, what was it?
Like Shane Gillis.
Like Shane Gillis. He's a crazy bully.
Not real bully.
He's a crazy bully. It's hilarious.
Bully humor.
He bullies so well. It's so funny.
Well, in the right setting, it's funny.
No, in the right setting. Yeah, it's like not even really bullying. It's just like a little harsh.
Right.
What was it? Who was it? You the other day? It was like a little bullying is okay.
Yeah.
A little bullying is okay.
Yeah, on a couple podcasts ago.
Yeah.
Well, no. I said it's not wrong to be bullied.
Yeah, that was it. That was it. It's not wrong to be bullied.
It's not wrong to be bullied. Being bullied a little bit is okay.
Yeah.
It's okay, but obviously there's limits.
Yeah, and when it actually is bullying, or when it actually is that abusive relationship, the toxic behavior, I mean, it's really bad.
Oh,
that's really bad.
Yeah. Well,
that's the stuff you actually need to stop.
Yeah. But it's hard when society endorses it, especially in one direction, like from one sort of peer to a different sort of peer. From one group to the other group, it's like we endorse this bullying, and we approve of it, and it's approved of in the home. There's nothing anybody else can do about it. You know what I'm saying? Because if the fathers are teaching this to their daughters, or the mothers are teaching it to their daughter, teaching it to their sons, teaching it to their daughter, whatever the case may be, there's absolutely nothing society can do for that, except to say it's wrong, and it is. It's wrong to teach your daughters to disrespect boys. I tell my daughters, it's really interesting. In school, we had a very interesting dynamic where my daughters were like class favorites. My son was like the class problem.
Oh.
And this is so typical. So typical. And in the home, it may be sometimes it might be reversed. It's like, well, someone might cause a lot of problems at home, whereas someone might do really well at home. But at school, it was like, and I saw that, and I was like, well, the temptation for her was to join the class in rejecting the outcasts, which are always boys.
Right.
Always male.
Yeah.
Always boys. And I was like, okay, well, here's what you need. I don't want you to think like that. I want you to be nice to boys. Like, I understand they're young, they're learning. I hope they learn to be respectful. I can't do anything about that. But I can do is I can teach you how to handle intergender relationships.
Mm.
It's like girls act a certain type of way, boys might act a certain type of way, but I want you to always don't talk down to boys.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like it's because it's very tempting. Because a lot of times the girls in the class have the upper hand. They have the upper hand in the authority because the authorities prefer them, they're all women, and they're all like, well, the girls are better. The girls are better behaved. We like them. They win awards. The boys don't. The boys get allocated to the corners of the class. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And there was that just palpable discrimination. I mean, my daughter was the class favorite. She was the favorite. A lot of her teachers really liked her, and my son was never that. And he's not a bad kid.
No.
I mean, to me, there's no difference because I'm like, oh, well, they both do what they're told. They both, whatever,
Right.
Nice kids. But I taught my daughter to respect the boys, and they will protect you. They'll be your friend. I was like, they may not all of them, and not all the time, but we kind of watched how the other girls would mistreat the boys, and then the boys would retaliate later, they're kids, so it's like they're both bullying each other.
Right.
But my daughter was always accepted. She was always the exception.
Wow.
And if the boys ever said anything mean to her, I would say, hey, don't say anything back.
Mm.
Be nice to them, and they will protect you. And my daughter never got bullied by the boys ever.
Wow.
The boys went out of there were boys that bullied boys. There were girls that bullied boys. There were boys that bullied the girls.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter never got bullied.
Wow.
By the kids.
Wow.
And it's because I taught her. She would get bullied by other girls, but she wouldn't get bullied by the boys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if the girls and the boys got into it, I told her, don't ever compete with boys. Don't compete with them. They're not a danger to you. Mm-hmm. If something happens, we have teachers. We have parents. We have things to do.
Right.
Discipline, all that. But I was like, don't ever compete with them. Don't talk down to them. Don't call them names.
Mm-hmm.
The other girls do that. You don't do that. And I want you to find the girls that are also being respectful, and you can try to be their friend or whatever. But like, the boys will not mess with you if you don't talk down to them and belittle them and all that.
Right. Yeah.
Because I was like, they're not treated the same in the class. They're just not. And my son went through that.
Yeah.
And I taught him the same thing. Like, don't get in the fights with the girls. He got bullied by girls all the time. Mm-hmm. He got bullied by boys all the time. And there's not much he could do. You know what I mean? Because he's was on the bottom of the class in preference. They were all very rude to him, all very mean.
That's awful.
But there's nothing he can do because I would teach him the same thing: be respectful to the girls, but it didn't matter because the girls would still talk down to him. The girls would still be mean. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
But my daughter, it was just different, and so I just taught her not to abuse her privilege that she does have. It's not like a white thing, but she does have a privilege being a female in the class. Mm-hmm. And I just told her to be respectful, be graceful, and it would work out much better, and it did.
Right.
Yeah. But my son didn't have those options because he doesn't have that privilege. The boys are going to be mean to him, and it doesn't matter how he acts. The girls are going to be mean to him, and it doesn't matter what he does. And he was very depressed, but we did, made other arrangements, but
right. Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, it's so destructive, and fathers are really, fathers of girls who do this are actually doing themselves they're shooting themselves in the foot because you're not teaching your daughter how to find a good man. You're teaching her to mistrust all men. Okay, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you teach your daughter grace and mercy, okay, and just propriety, I'll say, whatever,
Yeah.
It's like if you teach her eloquence, then the right man, she'll attract the right guy.
Mm-hmm. But
if you teach her how to have a lot of attitude, how to be a tomboy, how to I don't know, do boy things, compete with them all the time, belittle them all the time.
Yeah.
She's going to get a trauma-bonded guy who isn't going to know how to do life. He's not going to know what to do. He's going to be either a simp or a mess himself.
Right.
And I'm like, you attracted that because of her attitude. She doesn't trust men, so she has to find one easy to control, easy to manipulate.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So she goes for the naive, broken guy who she knows she can dominate, who won't mistreat her because she's afraid of that. Afraid of that side. But, you know what I mean? It's like, that's ridiculous. But teach her how to be nice. Teach her how to be honest, and she can attract a nice, honest guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like, if he's not nice or honest, well, then it's easy to spot because she is. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you're not teaching her to be naive. You're teaching her how to be respectful. And if he's not respectful, they're not compatible. They're not even in the same running. She's not even going to be attracted to him. But he's probably going to be afraid of her because she's respectful and nice, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, so she's going to attract the best kind of dudes, and that's what you want as a dad.
Right.
That's what you want.
Yeah.
You know. So
absolutely.
but you cannot a liar girl. If a girl's a liar, she's going to attract liars.
Yeah.
If you're dishonest, and this is good life advice for women. If you're a liar, you're going to attract liars. And so like women get all heated about men telling lies, and I'm like, that's because men are the more powerful party. Because if they weren't, you wouldn't be upset. You wouldn't be so you wouldn't be so hitched about it, right?
Yeah,
You wouldn't get so angry. But it's like, because men are the more powerful, their lies are more malicious to you. It's like a parent lying to their child.
Right. Yeah.
The parent has all the power and the authority in the relationship. So when they lie to a child, it's especially damaging for the child.
Right.
Whether or not you hear their complaints, but women get pressed about male dishonesty. But do you tell lies? Are you a liar? Right. You don't see a problem with your own dishonesty, but you see a problem with male dishonesty to you. And I'm like, I'm not advocating for men to be dishonest. I'm saying you should be honest, and then it's easy for you to spot and reject a dishonest man. It's easy because you're like, but if you're dishonest, you're not actually worth an honest man. An honest man is wasted on you. You're going to abuse him. And that's that's one variable. That's one character flaw. It works. You could insert anything like cheating or laziness, whatever the case may be. It's like you're going to attract essentially what's compatible with you. Period.
Right.
So if the guys if your daughter's bringing home bad guys, it's because where's her quality? Society's lying to women. We're telling them that they're worth the best, and I'm like, but they're not bringing home the best. So what if I see a guy who's with a bad woman? I don't look at that guy and say, oh, you're diamonds, you're gold, you're beautiful, you're brilliant. No, I say, well, at some point he did this to himself. So when you see a woman with a bad guy, it's like, well, is it the same thing? I don't know. And I don't know all the time. But what I'm saying is if it happens a lot, you're compatible with the quality that you're ending up with. Period.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you deserve it. I'm not victim shaming, abuse and all that. I'm not doing that. But if you're with dishonest, toxic dudes, you might need to check out your own character and see if you're repelling good guys. And I guarantee you that you're gonna be, if you're honest with yourself intellectually,
you might find some stuff.
You might find that you are you're attracted to the wrong person.
Right.
But we're lying to each other when we say you're worth more than that. It's like, well, you can believe that, but the facts will win in the end. So it's like whatever you're compatible with is what you're going to end up with. It's true. It's like if you're ending up with all these bad dudes or bad girls, it's like, well, you might not be as good as you think, or you might be pathologically lied to, conditioned to. Yeah, and that's absolutely true. That's true as well. You can be conditioned to accept certain types of abuse. That's definitely possible. That doesn't make you bad.
Right.
It makes whoever did that to you bad, but it doesn't make you bad. But what I'm saying is these things do need to be corrected.
Yeah.
And there isn't.
You'll have to grow.
You have to take ownership that happened.
Mm.
And it's like, well, maybe you didn't do that to yourself. And I understand. You know, I know.
Right. Yeah.
I know what it's like to be conditioned to accept certain toxic patterns of abuse. I know what that's like. But I had to take ownership.
Yep.
And I had to fix it. It's my problem. It's not, it didn't originate with me as a character issue, but it would become that if I didn't take ownership. That is a character issue, right? Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff. The other day, I was talking to someone.
Yeah.
They were talking about young men.
Mm-hmm.
They had this. They said, young men shouldn't be allowed to live with each other because they're so gross.
That's pretty funny.
I was like,
shouldn't be allowed.
They shouldn't be allowed to live with each other because they're so gross.
Is this a man or is this a woman?
This is a woman.
A woman.
A woman who said this.
Okay.
And so
yeah, that makes sense.
I'm like, so they
More
should
control.
live together when they're older. When they're older, they're like, I'm like, so in their 30s they should be moving in with one another, and not in their early 20s.
Wow.
And she's like, oh, yeah, but they're so gross. I'm like, yeah, that's how it works. And then they get cleaner. Okay?
Well, hopefully.
They get cleaner as they mature. They don't know what's going on.
What does she mean, gross?
She's like, their houses are a mess all the time, and they don't know how to clean a toilet. And I'm like, listen, sometimes that's true. Sometimes that's...
Well, they're busy.
Yeah.
They don't have girlfriends.
First of all, it was funny. She said, girls aren't like that. Girls know how to put together a home. Girls know how to take care of it. And I'm like, are you arguing for traditional values?
Gender roles?
Yeah. Are you telling me that a woman is better at homemaking?
She is.
She is absolutely.
That's
1,000%.
She
doesn't even understand
yes.
that she's arguing for traditional values.
Yes. It's so funny.
Dude, it was hilarious. But the guys were getting the brunt of it. Oh, guys are awful. It's like, well, most guys actually aren't spending a lot of time in the home. Okay?
Right.
Young guys who it's like, yeah, 4 of them living in a house.
Right.
Like
it's because that's their only option.
Yeah, and they're out and they're working. Okay. And they're not thinking about what's going on in the apartment. That's not the important. It's not the important piece. And then another thing is that a woman can come along.
Yeah.
And then they clean it up.
Right.
They clean up the messiness of the guy.
Right.
Okay. And like you can say that physically, they clean up like the dishes or a house, but they also clean up the guy. They let him know, hey, you can use soap, dude.
Right.
Have you been using soap? He's
right.
like,
what's that?
Babe, what are you talking about, babe?
What are you doing?
She's like, dude, you gotta use soap, man.
Except on your face.
And that's like the extreme, version of it. But it's like, who cares if guys are messy when they're young?
Who cares?
Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
And she was stating it as like a major character flaw.
A major issue in society, but it's not.
It's not. It's not.
Making issues out of nothing.
Yeah. I'm like, if they all live together, then it's not your problem. You're a woman. You're not living with them.
Isn't that typical though? You know,
it's so
like
stupid.
Inserting themselves into issues that they don't belong and then arbitrating it.
It was so silly.
Yeah.
Just absolute silly thing to say, and a huge judgment call on young guys again.
Yes.
So young guys now need to be, once again, they need to be everything.
Yes.
You know, so they could be a great hard worker, but they don't.
You're not a man until you can clean house.
That's outrageous. What was it?
And
the
make
dishes.
a woman happy.
That's what we were taught. The dishes.
Yeah.
A good man is supposed to do the dishes.
Yeah. You were taught that?
Yeah.
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 Wow.
Absolutely. That was huge.
Yeah.
Inside almost all the organizations I was a part of.
Right.
You know.
Ridiculous.
Schools and religious.
But isn't that an effeminate?
Doesn't make any sense.
Like that's an effeminate first of all, you're declaring that is manhood. And I'm like, but that's an effeminate judgment call to make.
Yeah.
It's not just an effeminate action. It's like you might say, well, a real man can support a family, or a real man works a good job, or no, dude does dishes.
He does the dishes, so his wife doesn't have.
Well, no wonder we have gender problems.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I know what you're saying. I mean, I grew up with it too. It's just so.
It's backwards. It's really
so
backwards,
but it's destructive.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want old women like arbitrating manhood to me because you couldn't find a man to do your dishes for you, so you're gonna tell me like I don't get your stamp of approval unless I do. No, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't tell you how to be an old woman.
No, we should.
Or a middle-aged woman, or a young woman. You know what I mean? Like, we're not doing that.
We should. We should start.
Yeah.
With the old women. I think I could teach old women how to be more old and more women.
Nice.
Yeah. You're doing old all wrong. And
we'll do
women.
professors.
Yeah.
University class.
Universities.
Elderly lady class.
We make a lot of money.
We'll show pictures of babushkas.
Oh.
Like the little Eastern European.
Oh my gosh.
We'll teach them how to sew charms in their clothes.
We need to start a class tonight,
How to do seances in quilt class.
Seances in quilt class!
That doesn't actually happen. That's a rumor. That doesn't actually happen. My grandma does not do Ouija boards. She doesn't.
Like, dude, your grandma made Ouija boards. Okay? Like, I met your grandma.
She like made her own Ouija board.
She made her own Ouija board.
Witchcraft is not commonplace in today's American society.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Holy cow.
Definitely doesn't happen all the time.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere. Holy cow. Gosh. Everyone's like, I'm an atheist, and they're a witch.
It's a witch. You're not an atheist, you believe in the devil.
It's insane, dude. Absolutely insane.
It's how you get power. It's how you leverage power.
How you leverage power.
Like I can say that it's a foreign concept for old men to be practicing the occult. That is a unique, that is an exceptional. That's like not old men don't fall into witchcraft.
It's an exception.
Right. But it's like, but in the female world, it's under the blankets. You know what I'm saying?
Well, we call them the fact that a witch
is traditionally female.
It's an old woman.
Yes.
That's what the witch typically is.
Old single woman.
Yes.
Mostly. Yeah.
And it's like there's a reason for that.
I guess so. Something stereotypical about that, but men like to live in the dark. They like to pretend it doesn't exist. And I'm like, because it's so foreign to us. Mm-hmm. We don't even think that way. Mm-hmm. Never think, oh, let's just do a seance. Let's just manipulate outcomes with spirits.
Right.
Or petition them in any kind of way.
It's not really the traditional way a man goes.
Men don't even think that. That's so weird. Any guys watching, oh yeah, that's weird. Why are you even talking about that? You're weird for talking about it. And I'm like, oh, this is real, actually.
Yeah.
It's actually real. Mm-hmm. It's normal for women to go see psychics.
Yes. Yeah.
Normal.
Mm-hmm.
They're everywhere. Oh, we don't have psychics, palm reading. This is normal.
Oh yeah.
And it's like
you forget, but they're in your town. It's like there's a shop you can go to.
Probably 5 here.
There's probably in our town.
6 maybe.
Yeah, they're in your town. There's little psychics, little readings. Who do you think's
keeping
those lights on? Who's keeping the lights on?
Yeah, exactly. Overwhelmingly women.
Your grandma.
Overwhelmingly old women.
Your grandma's keeping that light on.
Yeah, yeah. And people, I mean, we know too much.
We might.
We know too much.
We might.
Don't come for us.
You know those new flavors of chips.
Well,
those new chip flavors.
I don't eat chips.
Yeah, there's new chip flavors. And
I mean, I do eat chips.
Yeah, there's new chip flavors.
I don't eat flavored chips though.
Yeah, Cheetos and Doritos.
Yeah, Cheetos are
The Super Bowl
used to be great. I love
Super Bowl chips. Yeah.
What is wrong with us?
We don't know anything.
We don't know anything.
Chiefs. Chiefs.
Taylor Swift.
Yeah, we don't know. Never heard of it.
I've never heard of corporate corruption. That's a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, absolutely.
You must be an idiot.
You're a moron. You don't understand how corporate works. Excuse me?
Yeah, it's just a bunch of people working jobs.
I bet you don't have a 401k, do you?
But you don't have a job.
Yeah.
Can you imagine having a job?
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, witchcraft. Super prevalent.
Yeah.
Can you believe it?
I'd say coming soon near you, but it's already there.
I mean, if you see like what's popular among young women today, it is not marketed to us. Like we don't see the reels, we don't see the TikToks, we don't see that stuff because we're young men, and the algorithm knows what people in our demographic want to see, but also what does and doesn't appeal. But what's overwhelmingly marketed to young women is witchcraft, tarot cards. So much of it, so much.
Dude, that stuff's nasty stuff.
Horoscopes,
the tarot cards,
Ouija boards, Lilith.
Oh my, Lilith.
And it's like, are
Lilith.
you kidding me? Are you
God.
kidding me?
Holy cow, dude.
It's laughable, dude. It's laughable. We don't believe in Adam and Eve. We believe in Adam and Lilith. I'm like, you're a dope.
What are you talking
You're
about?
a dope.
What Adam and Lilith. That's the craziest thing to believe.
Stupid.
It's crazy to think.
It's so
I'm going to believe the Adam and Eve story, but not the
real one.
It's like, well, what the heck? Wouldn't you just be better to maybe just not believe it at all?
Yes.
You're like, oh, I just don't believe it.
Yes.
Like, the end. But instead you're like, no, I do believe Adam and Eve, but with Lilith.
But with a different...
You're like, what is the matter with you?
Yeah.
That's
with
like
Luciferian theology, whatever. I don't know what they call it. History.
Like, I get you could... There's people who twist the scriptures. But that's like...
Stupid.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so dumb.
That's like different than twisting the scriptures.
You just, making crap up.
Yeah.
It's laughable.
It really is.
It's like,
hilarious.
you just like, you're so insecure that you can't, that Eve, you didn't come from Eve because Eve came from Adam, and that's just such an insult to you.
Grow up, dude.
Grow up.
Grow up. You're
Oh
kidding me.
my gosh.
Grow up. What is the matter?
Don't get mad at me.
You?
I didn't make you a woman.
Holy cow.
It's not my fault. It was never my fault. Okay? I'm sorry you're mad, but I'm not sorry. I didn't do anything about it. I didn't do anything. It's true.
Dude.
All these, I didn't make you a woman. I didn't make you, I'm sorry, I guess.
Oh my God.
I'm not really sorry.
I'm sorry that people are women.
I'm not sorry.
What are you talking about? But that's
It's
stupid.
a good thing.
It's
good to be a woman. It's good to be a woman. It's good to be a
Absolutely.
nice woman, but it's good to be a woman.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it. I don't know why they find something it's so insulting. I'm like, you're insulted.
Yeah.
I'm not insulted that I'm a man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not angry that I'm a man.
Yeah, but there's also
I've paid for it
there's
dearly.
also part of it where
but
it's like you're insulted by God.
Yes.
You're insulted by
Yes.
what God did and what He chose to do in His complete sovereignty.
Yes.
Complete sovereignty. God doesn't have a mild sovereignty. He has a complete sovereignty.
He didn't ask your permission.
And He said, "This is beautiful.
This is good.
This is amazing."
He said it wasn't good until He made women. And then He said it was good.
Whoa.
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
What better compliment can you get?
Well, if you hate God, you can find the devil's compliment.
You need Lilith to compliment you.
Dude,
Holy crap,
she's
dude.
the whole idea is just selfishness. It's just
Yeah.
rampant humanism. It's Luciferianism. You worship Lucifer. And you worship yourself, but, it's just laughable. I'm like, people think that God is the narcissist and the devil is the scapegoat. And I'm like, if that's true, here's the truth. You want to know the truth?
Mm-hmm.
Even if that's true, you're done. You're helpless. If
true.
God, I know He's not a narcissist. The devil's the original narcissist. But if God's a narcissist, He's still right.
Yeah.
That's the thing. People
what chance do you have? He is God.
He's still right. It's like if the worst narcissist in your entire life had all the power, not just some, not just by human standards, all of it. You're done. I can think of the worst person I've ever met. If they were God, I'm done. Like, I'm finished. They're right. You know why they're right? They have all the power.
Right, yeah.
Because their power, if they created everything, and they're a narcissist, and they're as bad as I think they are, I'm done. Like, I can hate them, I can fight them.
It doesn't matter.
It's dust in the wind.
Yeah.
Like, it's nothing to them. But the fact that if God was really a narcissist, he wouldn't let you hate him.
Yeah, that's not really how it works.
That's not how it works. And so I know he's not a narcissist because he wouldn't let you talk that way about him. Right?
Yeah.
But if he was a narcissist, he's right. He's still right. And it's objective capability.
But he proves his patience every day.
He proves his patience
every single
by
day.
letting these things happen, and they fault him for that too.
Right.
You know? And I'm like, well,
that's backwards.
If he judges people, he's evil, and if he doesn't judge them, he's evil. And I'm like, you can't make both arguments at the same time.
No.
Because he used to judge people, and he was evil for that, and he's bad for that. And now he doesn't judge people, so he's bad for that.
Right.
You can't do that. That's intellectual stupidity.
Yeah.
That's, you know what I'm saying?
Well, it sounds like you're a judge. You're judging.
Yeah,
you're the judge.
Judging him.
And you're mad that you can't be the ultimate judge.
Right.
And you
won't rest until you have the say.
Yeah.
Or until it resembles something you would do.
Yeah. It's like, well, that means God has to look like you, and that
means you're God.
That means you're your own God.
And anything less than that is, well, you're just not going to entertain it. Yeah, you're just not going to entertain that. And I'm like, well, if God's bad, either God is bad because he judges people, or he's bad because he doesn't, and you can't have it both ways.
No.
And it's intellectual suicide to even try.
Yeah.
Because it's just stupid. And I'm like, so in the Old Testament he does judge, and he's bad. In the New Testament he judges as well. He just doesn't broadcast it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We don't have prophets warning us about God's judgment today. We did then, and they wrote it down. And I'm like, so he does judge today. He just doesn't broadcast that. But he's bad because it takes him too long. Or you know, in their minds, he doesn't at all.
Right.
And I'm like, so you can't have it both ways. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But like a lot of people don't know this about their atheist icons, like Hitchens.
Yeah.
I think Hitchens.
Christopher Hitchens.
Yeah, Christopher Hitchens. He's the one who's still alive, right?
Yeah.
There's one guy who died, but it's the guy who's alive. I believe it's Hitchens, or is it Dawkins?
Stephen Hawking?
No, not Hawking.
He died, right?
But there was an apologist. There's like two apologists, and is it Dawkins? Is there a Dawkins right now? It might be Richard Dawkins.
Christopher Hitchens and Richard Dawkins.
I think Christopher Hitchens passed away. I could be wrong.
Oh, one of them passed away?
I think one of them passed away.
Okay.
And it might have been Hitchens. But the other day, I'm listening to one of them. I think it's one of them, and they're talking, and they literally say nothing could change my mind. Both of them had said this.
Yeah,
actually.
I've seen that.
Both Dawkins and Hitchens have said.
Do we watch that together? Maybe.
Maybe.
No. He's like, what could convince you? And he's like, nothing.
There's nothing that can convince them.
But that's you're not being intellectually sincere.
Yeah.
If you act like that.
No, you're not. And then you're saying you can't even. I remember this was a different guy, but they were asking him, well, what criteria? Give me. What evidence is enough?
Yes.
And they say, I don't know.
They said, well,
that's what
nothing.
he said.
Yeah.
Well, that's what this guy said. He said, I don't know.
I don't know what would be enough.
I don't know what would be enough.
Yes.
And I'm like, well, then so then you're just stubborn.
Well, yeah, you're
ideologically.
set in
your ways. You're never going to believe, and you've decided you'll never believe. Now,
it's a choice.
I believe Dawkins is saying, if I were to see God, I would just.
He would
basically spit in his face.
It's a hallucination.
Yes,
he said, if I saw God coming in the clouds and blowing a trumpet, I would think I would chalk it up to insanity.
Yes. Yep.
And that he's having a hallucination.
Yep.
And it's like he's he's not being sincere in any by
no.
any measurement.
The other
at all.
He was also the guy who he said he was talking to a guy called Cosmic Skeptic, who's like a YouTuber,
Right.
like an atheistic YouTuber, right? And so he was talking to him, and the Cosmic Skeptic is actually being timed, and he's going, "What was a question or an argument that a Christian apologist has made to you that you actually thought was a good point?" And he, no joke, said, "None.
Wow.
There's never been anything ever brought up to me that I thought was a good point. They all fall flat." And I'm like, that was the most dishonest thing I've ever heard. I've watched those arguments with Dawkins and with Lane Craig.
Right.
And Lane Craig brings up phenomenal points.
Right.
Over and over and over again. And I'm like, it is so, not only is it dishonest because he's lying, it's rude. It's absolutely rude of him. And I'm like, this is the atheist icon?
Yeah, this is what you're arguing with?
This guy? I'm like, you're kidding. And I'm like, prior to this, I didn't have, like, I had a level of respect for him because he's a massive apologist. And he's standing for what he believes.
Right.
But after that, I'm like, oh, you're just a liar.
Right.
You're just a liar. You've been disingenuous basically this entire time.
Yeah.
I was like, because you can't even give a single compliment to the person who was arguing against you. And I'm sure that some people will say, well, he did maybe at this time or at this time. But to say, like, I know that Lane Craig would say, like, if you said you're coming to the end of your life,
right,
and you're talking to Lane Craig, and you go, what was a good point that somebody made up? I know that he would be able to say, I thought that was a good point.
Yeah.
Somebody brought this up to me, and I didn't agree with it, and I argued this against it, but it was a good point.
Right.
You know, it was a fair point, and I could do that with people who brought up arguments against what I believe.
Right.
And I could appreciate you for.
Right.
For a level of intelligence. I was like, dude, it's so rude to go nothing.
Nothing. Yeah. Well, it's arrogant.
It's arrogant, disingenuous. I'm like, you're lying. You're a liar.
Yeah. Well,
and you know that you're lying because the only reason you're lying is so that you appear smarter.
Right.
I'm like, what? Like, so above it all, as if those long debates meant nothing the entire time. And I'm like,
as if you won them all without question. And you know that's not true.
It's like far from true.
Yeah.
So far from true. So rude, so awful.
As if you've blown all your opponents intellectually out of the water.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I don't think so.
No.
Well,
no.
Yeah.
Insane. But I'm like, that's the atheist icon. That's Dawkins right there.
Well, they have every reason to be arrogant because they have no bearing to not be. Right. I mean, it's not that a Christian can't be arrogant. It's like, of course we can. But it's not. We have a belief system that's not centered around humility, not regardless of whether the individual understands what that means or not. But
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Which why wouldn't you be arrogant? You're promoting yourself against God.
Well, that's a good point.
You have to have a sort of.
You have to be arrogant.
You have to have a sort of delusional arrogance.
Right.
To do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, it could just be a lot of projection. I mean, his book, is it Dawkins' book that is The God Delusion?
The God Delusion.
Is that
Hitchens?
That's Hitchens.
I think it's Hitchens, yeah.
Okay, so I think Hitchens is the one that passed away.
You think so?
I think he did.
I heard that.
Yeah.
Does he do acting? Is he an actor?
No, I don't think so.
Who's the one that did it? I might be confusing two different people.
I don't know. I think Hitchens...
One's a comedian? No.
One's a comedian?
Well, I don't know. I thought there's there's an actor who looks just like him, or is that not the same?
Oh no, wait, I know who you're. Gervais.
No, well, no, there's Ricky Gervais.
Ricky Gervais.
But it's not him. But that's all right. I didn't know if it was the same guy or not. He's a character actor or something.
I don't know. I don't think that's Hitchens. One of them, maybe it wasn't Hitchens, but one of them passed away.
Right.
Back in like early 2010s, I think.
Shoot.
So
hope he got saved.
Yeah, I mean, I do too. It sounds like he probably didn't, but
well,
if you go off of his literature,
you
don't know.
Well, a lot can change in those last few
moments.
moments.
Yeah.
I mean, you never know what a person afraid of eternity will say.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
but it could be just getting them all backwards, and maybe Hitchens was the guy we were watching.
No, I think that was Dawkins.
What? Maybe it was.
Who said he wouldn't believe?
Yeah.
He wouldn't believe if there's no amount of proof.
See, I thought that was Dawkins too.
He said there's no amount of proof, and if I saw God, I would say I was insane.
Golly.
He would rather admit insanity, he would rather surrender his sanity than to admit God's real. And like, well, if you're dealing with that, that's a strong delusion. Yeah. And the Bible talks about that. It talks about strong delusions.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you were God, you would completely disregard a person like that.
Right. Yeah.
Because, first of all, the Bible talks about people like that. But if someone has made up their mind to that degree not to believe in you, well, you're never going to show yourself to them. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
For sure not. Because they're, well, I don't know for sure anything, but you know what I mean? It's like, it's not going to happen probably because he's saying, I would rather be insane than God be real.
I mean, what in the world, dude? That's crazy.
And so there's literally nothing you could do, and if 100 people saw it, he would say, then it's more probable that him and 100 people shared the same hallucination. That's, you know, I mean, that's his thought process. And I'm like, well,
oh my gosh,
here's
dude.
the thing: if you actually saw
right.
God, you wouldn't be able to handle it. First of all.
Well, that's a good point.
So there's nothing in your mind that could conjure up that kind of power.
Right.
You wouldn't be able to tolerate it in your delusional fallen state.
Right.
It's not going to be insanity that you're going to be worried about.
Right. Yeah, that is true.
Because when God shows himself, it's going to be pretty dramatic.
Yeah.
And everyone's going to experience it at the same time. And so that's where, like, the whole world's not going to be going insane at the same time.
Right.
The whole world has been going insane, which is why you're delusional, because you're already insane. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So seeing God isn't your problem. It's everything before that, you know?
Right. Golly.
You know what I mean? But it's a terrifying thing. I mean, to think of God, like I said, even if he's bad, he's right.
Yeah. I mean, he's
because
God.
of the power disparity.
Yeah, if he's God.
If you think about an ant,
he's God.
If you think about an ant, and you can logically and reasonably put yourself in a position of a helpless animal, and they're not helpless in terms of their environment. They're not always helpless, but neither are we. We're not helpless when it comes to, you know, trees and buildings and moving gravel, and you know, we're not helpless when it comes to our environment, right?
Right.
But when it comes to like an ant versus a human, if the human is frying ants, they're right. Because the ants can do nothing about it.
Right, yeah.
And so it's like, well, the ants can't reciprocate in any meaningful way. They can't contend for justice. They can't punish the human.
Right.
So the human is essentially always, that doesn't make them objectively right, but what it means is the power disparity is so large that the human, if the ants were to retaliate to any degree, the human could wipe out their entire colony.
Right.
So that means that justice doesn't exist in a human-ant relationship. And I'm not saying that's exactly the case with a human-God relationship.
Right.
But I'm saying that if it is, that he's right.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that's just that, and that's both on the physical plane.
Yes.
You know, not even beyond that, because God's beyond the physical plane.
Yes.
You know, so if we can make that conclusion with ants and humans on the same plane.
Yes.
I mean, you're talking about a being that is beyond our plane.
Yeah.
He's not in the same environment. We wouldn't be in the same environment at all.
You can't sue God.
I mean, there's nothing you can do.
You can't. You can reason with him, of course, but that's what Jesus is here for, right?
Well, yeah, and I think that's the point of Christianity. As well, is to say God's not a tyrant, and He makes Himself not a tyrant.
Yes.
Throughout the entire Word.
Because He gives us a means to communicate with Him.
Yeah.
But we reject it, and we exalt ourselves.
Yeah.
And we think we know better. But but the case is, it's still true. It's like humans are objectively right in their dealings with small creatures.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean they can't be cruel and mean and whatever.
No, well, but that's because there's something above us.
Yes.
You know, we would make the argument that there is a morality beyond us. But if there's not a morality beyond us, as it is with God,
yes,
then whatever we decide
we're always right.
Is right.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is subjective morality.
Right. If you have the power,
well,
then you have you can and should use it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what evolution certainly teaches.
Yeah, absolutely. And so even if God is operating out of that, then he's right. Even based on the atheists.
Even based on that. If he's a higher being, he's right.
Yeah, and so.
But the power disparity makes it irrelevant whether or not he's right.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it completely irrelevant.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, well, the power disparity between us and small creatures, small insects, is completely irrelevant.
Right.
It's totally irrelevant because to them, they can't, you know.
Yeah.
To reciprocate means certain death, not just for them, but for, well, the hive or the nest or the colony or whatever the case may be, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just sometimes invading human spaces is enough to destroy your entire colony. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
that is true.
You just invaded our space, and we judged that to be a damnable offense, right?
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, well, in God's eyes, let's say if he were to make similar judgments, he'd be right.
Mm-hmm.
Just because the power disparity.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I'm like, well, I'm thankful that he's not a narcissist.
Right.
But it's totally irrelevant if he were.
Yeah. I thought if he's God.
If he's God,
it just doesn't matter.
It wouldn't matter. Like we're lucky that he's nice, that he's not like that. And they would say he's not nice, but I don't care what they say.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like
absolutely.
We're
the ones
lucky.
who don't know and don't believe in him.
Oh,
why?
Their opinion on God is.
Are you kidding me?
No, I don't care.
Yeah. You don't know him and you don't believe in him.
You don't know him. You don't believe him.
Like I do believe him.
Yeah.
And I do believe I know him.
Yeah.
And from what I can tell,
he's nothing like they say.
He's absolutely not. Absolutely not.
But I'm not. I'm not offended that people don't believe. It doesn't matter to me. Like, it doesn't matter. Maybe that's a hot take, but like,
well, I mean,
it's never offended me that people don't believe in God.
No,
I don't get twisted up about it. I'm not a path. I don't need you to believe in God for me to be all right.
No, I mean, people are sovereign characters to a certain degree in their own beliefs.
Yeah,
they're sovereign in what they will believe.
Yeah,
and it's like I'm going to let you.
I'll let you make that decision.
If you're going to believe, then believe. If you're not going to believe, that's fine.
Yeah. I think the quality of church, quality of believers goes down whenever you have to convince everyone. And I'm like, we end up losing the power of the gospel, the power of the message anyway. When you do that, you subvert it.
Right.
At the very least, to appeal to people, because you're trying to appeal to a vain, selfish culture.
Right.
Yeah. I'm like, but the power of the gospel is not in vanity and selfishness. It's the absence of it. And so it's like, well, I would rather preach the real gospel and have 3 converts ever than preach a false one and have 100,000 in tithes every week.
Yes. Yeah.
But people use church as a business model now, and so you appeal to the people because the people come and the people pay, and you get a salary from that, and you get big houses and whatever the case. You have mega churches, right?
Yeah.
But like you have to appeal to the people's nature to get that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, that's not the gospel.
No.
It's not supposed to be lucrative like that, and it shouldn't be. Like, oh well, it's not wrong to make money. No, it's not wrong to make money, but it is wrong to get rich off the gospel.
Yes.
That is wrong.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's wrong. It's like. If you're doing that much good and people are just showering you with wealth, it's like that doesn't mean I'm gonna go buy $1 million jet and mansion. Okay.
No.
Not gonna happen, right?
That is weird.
Oh, it's so
I'm
weird.
sorry, that is
the Bible's against
super
that.
Weird. And like, I feel like I was kind of conditioned a little bit to to not think that that's weird.
Yeah.
But it's because everybody
weird.
wanted it. Like, so the people around me, they don't even have it. right?
Right.
But they're like, oh no, it's not wrong.
Because
it's not wrong
money,
to make millions off of the gospel for yourself. Like not a ministry.
Not the ministry.
A ministry, it would make sense that it brings in millions.
It's fine if you grow the ministry.
It's going to come in and go out. And,
yes.
There are probably some places there might be some places that do it right, and we just don't know about them. We haven't heard of them.
Or maybe we have. I don't know.
Yeah.
but yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah, but for you yourself to have millions upon millions every year, and like you're saying, you're spending on jet skis and mansions. That is weird. That is weird.
Yeah, that's weird.
Okay,
I mean,
it's like that.
The Bible's against that.
That is people's tithes, dude.
Right.
That's people's money.
Well, it's for the ministry.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's to you.
Yeah.
Because that's the way you built it.
Super strange.
But if you didn't build it for that, I guarantee you, if that money comes in, it's like, well, it's going to go to the mission.
Right. Exactly.
Because a ministry has a mission, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not wrong to get wealthy from business.
No.
But it's wrong to treat a church or a ministry like a business.
Yes.
It's wrong. Sorry.
Yeah.
Hot take.
Dude.
But it's wrong to get rich off the gospel.
And those churches, I don't think I've actually seen a good message from a mega church.
From a rich
arrangement.
Church. Yeah.
Maybe you could tell me.
Well, it's not about
maybe John MacArthur. He's got a pretty big church.
Sure.
And so
it's not wrong to have big churches, but it is wrong.
Yeah.
To get personally fat off of it.
yeah, and I definitely see that
with
almost every mega church right now. I mean, the ones that I think of, I mean, it's just messed up. It's just messed up, and then you're not getting a good gospel message out of it.
No.
It's a mess. No.
It's like if I take a stand for the gospel and people send me money, that's fine, but that's not wrong.
Right.
But the problem is that most of the time when you get big like that, you've already compromised the integrity of the message to be publicly appealing, and that's inherently the problem, because the gospel is not that universally appealing.
No,
you know what I mean?
No, it literally says it's a narrow way.
It's a narrow way.
Few will find it.
Yes, quality over quantity, always. Quality over quantity. People lose that because they have an interest in the amounts, in the numbers.
Right.
And I'm like, you need to remove that. You can't operate in the gospel when you have such a vested interest in the numbers. You can't do that.
No.
The apostles didn't do that. They went to towns, they preached the gospel, and then you develop a body there, and it's okay if everybody preaches the gospel in their arena, in their circle, but it's not right. You can't ever expect the whole of everybody to believe everything.
No.
And if they do, that's a big red flag. I mean, something's critically wrong.
Yeah, you're not. It's not the real gospel.
And it's not the real thing, and a lot of those, because it's never supposed to be universally appealing, ever.
No.
And so it's a big red flag,
Oh yeah.
But like I said, 3 converts over 300, and so it's not wrong to get 300, but I'm just saying, like, people call it a move of God, but sometimes
the problem is that it probably. You didn't say 300 people.
Yeah.
Like, all these churches, and I just heard it the other day, they justify their actions through the amount of people who got saved.
Respond.
And that is literally people signing a piece of paper that says, did you get saved?
Right.
And they just signed it. And then the church will never check up on it again. Most likely, they'll keep going to the church.
Right.
That's most likely. And then they'll consider that a real conversion, the fact that they showed up multiple times.
Right.
Just doesn't mean that they believe it all. Could mean that they just like the environment. Could mean that they like the music.
People.
They like the people.
Yeah.
They like community. They could be lacking in community. And so they're like, well, I'll believe this in order to have community, but that's not being saved.
Or they could have been manipulated to the altar by a strange, weirdly humanistic message.
Yeah, absolutely. The message
and that happens a lot.
Yeah, most likely.
There's a lot of churches that perform weekly manipulation.
Most likely.
To shame you into going to the altar.
Most likely the people getting saved out of these mega churches are people who came to a really bad altar call,
right?
But their hearts were sincere,
right?
And so it has nothing to do with the altar call, everything to do with the Lord and Him bringing His people to Him,
right?
Which is that's most likely it. But you cannot figure that out through calculating who got saved on this Sunday or through this event. You can't do it.
Right.
And they want to, and they justify their actions through that. But when you look at how they are saying, oh yeah, they got saved, you're like, that doesn't mean anything, actually. It actually doesn't mean that 300 people got saved.
Right.
But,
yeah,
what are you going to do?
Fix the whole system?
Dude,
Like,
I mean, we were talking about a church the other day that's spending millions on one event.
Right.
And the event is it's going to bring in a bunch of people.
Right.
But they're spending millions. I mean, like
and they're making millions.
They're spending millions. They're making millions as well.
Yeah.
And it's like for a 3-day experience.
Yeah.
Where they literally put on a show.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be a show.
It's going to be a big show.
And I don't mean and I mean that it's a show, and not like they're being fake. I mean, they are going to play music. They're going to get athletes to show up, famous athletes to show up,
right?
To like sign jerseys and sign. I kid you not, this is what they're doing. And then they're going to give a message at some point that is gospel centered, and then if whoever responds, they're going to count as saved.
Yes.
And then they're going to say, if you speak against what we did here, well, we got
You're wrong.
1,200 people saved in 3 days.
Yes.
And I'm like, no, you didn't. You didn't get a single person saved.
Yeah, probably
in 3 days. There's no way. They had a great time, and they responded to the event. Because when you put on, whatever it is, a bull ride.
Yeah.
A
rodeo.
They put on a rodeo, and then everyone cheers. And then you put on dramatic music and tell everyone to come to the front. What are people going to do?
Yeah, well... Yeah.
You could practically put a prompter that says applause, cry, come to the front. And that's what's happening. It's just manipulation. And
showmanship.
That's it. That's it. That's all that's happening.
There's an interesting concept, people. Don't criticize me. We preach the gospel. How dare you? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Divisive. That's what they say.
Right.
But so a lot of people cite Paul. He says whether in pretense or in truth that the gospel might be preached, people might get saved. Right?
Yeah. We'll go off on it. Go off.
Here's the
caveat. Tell them.
Yeah, I'll tell them. Here's the caveat here. The condition is that the gospel is preached, not the false gospel. So that means that you can preach the real gospel in selfish motives, and God will still save people. You cannot preach a false gospel with real motives, like sincere motives, is still a false gospel. Period. So if the real gospel is being preached, I am not judging the personal character of every single preacher. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I don't need to do that because Paul says whether in pretense, whether in selfishness, whether whatever, or in truth, that the gospel might be preached. But in his day, those people were preaching the real gospel, not a narcissistic, selfish, self-centered. It's all about me, the God of the universe in me, all that stuff, right?
Absolutely.
And it's like, so that's the problem. It's like, it's not the real gospel. It is in pretense, but even in sincerity, it's wrong.
I even think it's important to say, coming to Jesus because you've been told that He can make your life better.
Yes.
Is not the gospel in any sort of way, and. Yeah, that idea is just extremely flawed. It's not actually the gospel. It sounds really good, and I understand people are coming to the altar because their life is a mess and it's in ruin, and the preacher told them Jesus can help. And that's not necessarily untrue, but that is not the gospel. The gospel is, that you made your life a mess and that you need to repent for those sins. And Christ came and died that when you repent, your sins would be forgiven.
Right.
And then you commit your life to follow the ordinances that He has placed. And so,
Right.
There's a few things with the gospel, but that one that you're awful, and you're the one causing your life to be awful, and you need to repent for it.
Right.
Like, it wasn't the world that made your life awful. It might have been,
Like,
it was
well,
you.
the world is awful, but,
Yeah.
but you can repent and be saved.
Yeah.
But it'll put you at odds with the world. It's
Yes.
not going to make you accepted by it.
No, and if you come that your life might be better.
You're going to be you're going to be disappointed. You should be disappointed because
Yeah.
that's not why you go to the Lord. You go to the Lord for
Yeah.
personal salvation,
Mm-hmm.
for inner peace, inner freedom, not for societal acceptance.
Yeah, a lot of the examples we get are like, I came to the Lord and then I got this job. I came to the Lord and then I got this raise. I came to the Lord and
healing.
my relationship got fixed.
Right.
I'm not saying He doesn't do any of that.
Yeah.
I'm saying if that's your testimony, that's not a great testimony.
Well, it's not.
Okay.
It's not supposed to. It can be a testimony, but it's not here. You're not doing that to persuade everyone to come to Him.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it's like we can all celebrate together. We can all be happy that
Yes.
good things are happening. We're supposed to
Absolutely.
rejoice together.
Mm-hmm.
We're also supposed to mourn together.
Right.
And so, you know what I mean?
A lot of times it's like, you're going to come to Christ, you might lose your job. You're going to come to Christ.
Yeah.
Most likely,
You might
you're going
lose
to
your
come
family.
you're going to lose a relationship.
Most likely,
You
that
come
is-
to Christ,
yeah.
you're losing relationships.
Especially
It's
in our
weird.
society. Yeah.
It's weird to be gaining more relationships
No.
because of Christ. Most likely,
Yeah.
you're going to lose them. You're going to lose quite a few, and that's a real truth. People don't like to come to terms with it,
Yeah.
but that's what's going to happen. So if you don't like being lonely, you're going to have to lay that before the Lord's feet. But that's good.
Yeah. And consider,
You know.
like Jesus says, consider the cost.
Yeah.
Consider the cost.
So
Like,
that means there's a cost.
there's a big cost.
We're
You know,
acting like it's all free.
right.
And it's like, well,
Just-
not even Christ said that.
Your life's gonna be better. It's like, people. Are you okay with people rejecting you?
Mm-hmm.
Are you okay with losing your job if you have one,
Mm-hmm.
and not easily finding another one?
Right.
And what if God doesn't have an alternative one for you
Mm-hmm.
right away?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just like I would never. It doesn't offend me when people don't believe the gospel, or if they half-heartedly whatever, because I'm just like, there's a huge cost to it,
Right.
and they're just
Yeah.
coping with life
Mm-hmm.
in a spiritual facet, right?
Right.
And I'm not. Of course, it's wrong. They're gonna end up worse for it,
Mm-hmm.
because when you commit yourself to the Lord, but there is a cost to that, and it
Yeah.
is painful and it is hard, and
Yeah.
that's always how I would preach it. But in society, everybody wants to get all hung up, like, are you saying I'm going to hell? It's like, no, absolutely you are. Like, if you don't
Yeah,
believe
yeah.
that Jesus is the only Son of
Mhm.
God and our only mediator,
Mm-hmm.
you are going to hell. Like, I'm not like, it's not, I'm not just saying that. I believe that.
Right.
And I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to go to hell, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't have control. It's not my problem if you don't believe, and if I've told you, it's even less my problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you know what I'm saying? And
Absolutely.
there's people in my
Yeah.
life that I have that exact attitude toward, and I'm like, it is not my problem, and they act like it's my problem.
Right.
I don't believe. What are you going to do about it? And I'm like, what are you, some BPD whack job who's like, I'm going to kill myself if you don't do what I want? And I'm like, it's not my problem. If you're suicidal, I'm so sorry. Please don't do that.
Yeah.
You're not going to manipulate me
No.
into putting myself in,
Right.
bad situation, right?
Mhm.
It's like, oh, I'm so sorry you feel that way. But then it's like, I'm not gonna believe in Jesus. What are you gonna do about it? And I'm like, you're committing spiritual suicide.
Right.
I'm so sorry you feel that way. It's not my problem. I've told you the gospel many times in my life,
Right.
and it's even less my problem. Like, you have no idea how it is not my problem. I'm not personally offended.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not personally hurt anymore. It's
Mhm.
like, I've told you, I love you. I believe that this is the only way. I'm so
Right.
sorry that you're trying to use it as leverage against me, but it's not
Yeah.
going to work. I'm not stupid. anymore.
yeah, anymore.
I used to be an idiot, but like I'm not stupid, and I'm not letting you manipulate me like that. Like there's people in my life, I'm just like, it is not my problem. You don't believe. Sorry.
Right. Absolutely.
Sorry. Like do what you want. I'm done. I'm not going to convince you.
Right.
It would be wrong, you know, because they have freedom. They have free thought. They have.
Absolutely.
They're not good thinkers, but like they have the power to choose ignorance or delusion or truth, and they continually choose something else other than the truth, and then try to shame me. I was like, no, like eat dirt. I don't care. Like it may sound callous. I told you the gospel in good faith. Not like dogmated, you know, not like, you know, like, I'm talking to you like that with, you know, about them, but like, that's not the way I did it. In good faith, I told them the gospel, and they don't care.
All right.
Okay, fine, whatever. You know, I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. You know, that's fine, but like, no way is it my problem. It's not my problem.
Absolutely.
I'm not here to convince a whole stadium of people, manipulate them into believing. There's a cost. It's a serious cost. You know, and I can't in good faith. I'm not going to lie to people.
It's like we present the cost, and then like I feel like some people try to make a deal with them. Wait, hold on. You're not willing to pay that.
Would you be willing to? You.
Yeah.
Like you, the representative. Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, can we make this deal?
Yeah.
You know, for it, and you're like, well, I'm not. It's not actually my job to make it more appealing to you because the gospel just is what it is. Yeah. And if you reject it, that's okay.
Well, I mean, it's your right.
Yeah.
To do so.
Okay, as in. Yeah, you can do that. But if you accept it, then you accept it, and it's like it's just really that. I mean, there's a reason why we call them believers, because they believe, and it's like really that. It's like that. It's like that distinction.
Yes.
It's like some people believe, some people don't believe.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you don't believe, you're an unbeliver. That's what it is.
You are at that point. You are an unbeliever.
You know, it's fine that you can be an unbeliever. You know.
Yeah.
And we don't really wish that upon people.
Well, no.
But I do wish for you to make your own decision.
Yes.
And I wish for you to be responsible for that decision.
And count the cost.
And a lot of people, they want that as well. They want to be able to make that decision.
Yes.
Like whether they're going to believe or not believe. And they don't want to be forced into believing.
Yeah.
They don't want to be forced into unbelieving. It's like, okay, well then I want that for you too. And as much as I want, I want people to believe. Yeah. But I want you to believe. That means you.
Yeah. And,
you have to make that decision.
Christians need to stop believing. Real Christians need to stop living under the deception that everyone's going to believe. The Bible is very clear that's not the case. And you need to stop believing that your family's going to believe. You know, people need to stop believing that. Your whole family's not going to believe. And if they all say they believe, there's a good chance some of them actually don't.
Yeah.
And so it's like there's a good chance.
That's a hard truth.
That's a hard truth. There's a good chance some of them are playing the hypocrite. And for you to be so simple-minded that just because they say they accept Christ, they're going to heaven. It's like, well, I'm not making that claim. You know, that's just not the case. Some people say they accept Christ, but don't. They're just afraid to tell you otherwise. Yeah. You know, and it could be lying. Could be lying to themselves. I don't know. But it's not my. I'm not saying in individual cases what is and is not the case. But I am saying in general cases, I don't know any families that all of them believe the gospel.
Right. Yeah.
And would would take it to the grave.
Absolutely.
I don't know that, and it's like people need to stop believing that it is universally free. It is a free gift, but it actually costs you to believe.
Right. Yeah.
So you know what I mean? Like it's offered freely. You don't have to pay anything for it.
Right.
But it costs you to take the gift. You give up other things. It's like the pearl of great price. You know, when you find a treasure in a field, and this man sold everything he had to get it. You know.
Yeah.
And that's essentially the gospel. But what is it going to cost you? Well, maybe everything. Maybe everything. You know what I mean? So. Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
So.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, you want to bring up another topic, or is this a good time to head off? What do you think?
It's a good time to head off.
I think it might be. I'm feeling that.
Yep.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Well, okay. We're gonna sign off. Have a good one, everyone.